The first time I undergo my clan's awakening rite, even my sister Charlotte, the legendary sword saint, is left speechless. I, the most despised failure in House Wilhelm's history, have perfectly replicated the power of our clan's greatest ancestor. Just 2.5 hours ago, I was nothing more than an ordinary field medic. In this world, curses relentlessly erode everything in their path. Those who succumb to the encroaching curse eventually lose their humanity, reduced to nothing but deranged monsters. To fight back against these undead hordes, heroes banded together and formed an organization known as the Azure Vanguard. I exist to stay by our leader Arthur's side, wrenching away any curses that afflict him during combat. Suddenly, a surge of violet energy erupts from deep within me. This is the trump card of the outcast of House Wilhelm, a theft ability despised by the entire clan. The moment the curse is wrenched away, I convulse violently, doubling over as black blood sprays from my mouth uncontrollably. Dark Feast can steal curses, that much is true, but every time it activates, it tears my body apart from the inside. Not far away on the battlefield, the Death Knight swings his massive black scythe. The sheer force of destruction rolling off it crushes the breath from everyone around. Thinking this handful of people can stand against a Death Knight, what a joke. The words barely leave his mouth before Arthur's sword clatters to the ground. At the sound, 3 women rush to his side and wrap their arms tightly around him. A dry, hollow laugh escapes me. Does this bastard have any idea what he's doing? Him, the leader of the Azure Vanguard? Arthur's cold voice follows slowly. Let's end this now. Hope for this world died long ago. Everything we're doing is pointless. My head snaps up. Give up? Arthur, you actually dare to say that? Do you have any idea how many people are dead and gone just to get you here? Everyone is bleeding themselves dry for this world, and you're busy clinging to women? Hold your tongue. You piece of trash, KL. The voice belongs to Sarilyn, the third empress of the Aphanian Empire. In her eyes, Lord Arthur has already given everything. He is the Empire's hope, and a thieving good-for-nothing like me has no right to lecture anyone. I press a hand to my forehead, barely believing what I'm hearing. Then I burst out laughing, sharp and wild. Sure, I'm the trash House Wilhelm threw away. Sure, I'm your thief, but without this trash, every last one of you would already be pulp on that battlefield. I extend a rune-covered finger and point straight at the women sheltering behind Arthur. All of you, listen up. Without my theft skill, none of you would have made it to the central battlefield. My eyes land first on Abella, the red-haired sorceress from the Magic Tower, Azure Vanguard member, currently gazing at Arthur with nothing but concern. Have you forgotten as well, Abella? If you lose your voice, you lose your magic. It was you who begged me time and time again to steal away your curse. But the moment the backlash hit me and I needed medicine just to function, you attacked me without a second thought. Then I turned to Diana Merlin, spear in hand, the most celebrated lancer in the entire Aphanian Empire. You weren't this cold when you were on your knees, screaming, begging me to strip that curse from you. The curse runes are still spreading. The body I forced upright sways dangerously. And finally, you, Sarilyn, third empress of the Aphanian Empire. Back at the academy, you came after me at every turn just because I was aligned with the kingdom of Stalin. And yet I swallowed every last humiliation and fought with everything I had to heal your eyes. Because you are members of the Azure Vanguard, the chosen ones, the ones meant to save the world. And I'm just a fighter with no talent, a thief no one would miss. I turned to Arthur, my gaze steady and unshakable. Then why are you throwing it all away? I watched you stand at the front of the Azure Vanguard even when no one around you understood you. That's why I chose to stay by your side. So why, at the very last moment, do you give up this easily? Arthur slowly lifts his head. Just as he said, this world has reached its absolute end. What he intends to do is tear everything down and start over. And the reason he has lived through the world's destruction more than once is his innate ability. Regression. My face goes completely still. My mind goes blank. I never imagined the man standing before me, the so-called savior, possessed a power this insane. Arthur's gaze sweeps across the 3 women at his side. This time he tells us he has also obtained memory inheritance. Carrying the lessons of the past into the next world, his chances of stopping the destruction are far greater, so he will begin a new journey with the 3 of them. My voice comes out trembling, barely holding together. Then what exactly am I in all of this? Arthur's eyes go ice cold in an instant. As for you, there's no reason to bring you back. Those words hit like a bolt from the blue, shattering every belief I had left. Arthur's face stays cold with contempt. That skill of yours, Dark Feast, is genuinely useful, stealing curses that can't be broken any other way. But those very curses have ground your body and soul down to almost nothing. So bringing back a version of you that is broken in every way, mind, body, and soul, serves no purpose. A fresh, untouched version of you in the next world will be far more useful. My eyes go wide. Tears spill down my face before I can stop them. From the very beginning, I was nothing but a disposable tool. He never once saw me as a true companion. Arthur looks down at me with a cruel smile. Don't worry so much. In the next world, and the one after that, I'll make good use of you. So say goodbye to this one, worthless young master of House Wilhelm. I should have seen it long ago. If Arthur had ever truly seen me as a companion, he would never have stood by and done nothing while the Azure Vanguard ignored and pushed me out. My jaw locks tight. Something wild and desperate surges up from deep inside me. It hits me. Dark Feast doesn't only steal curses, it works on innate skills too. Stealing a skill is far harder than stealing a curse, and I never dared try it on Arthur. But right now, it's the only chance I have to survive. In the next instant, dark energy floods into me like a crashing tide. A grin spreads across my face, wild, unhinged. Dark Feast, activate. At the same moment, Arthur stands bathed in the blazing light of regression, arms open wide, ready to embrace the next world. Then, streams of black shadow explode out from my body. In a heartbeat, they form a colossal hand that blots out the sky, and with world-shattering force, it comes crashing down on Arthur. When I open my eyes again, my whole body freezes. This is Greenspire Manor, the place I lived as a child. Even more shocking, the skin under my fingertips is smooth and soft, none of the rough, curse-scarred skin I lived with in my past life. Then the memories crash in like a wave, horrifying images of the world's destruction churning through my mind. I bolt upright in bed. In my memory, it was the dead of winter, bone-cutting cold, and I stood at the peak of a snow-covered mountain watching Arthur and the others leave without a single look back. But all my skin feels now is the sweltering heat of midsummer. A low laugh escapes me. I actually did it. I actually stole Arthur's regression. But as I laugh, the confusion sets in. How exactly did I pull it off? Everyone assumes Dark Feast can steal anything, without limits. What no one knows is that it has one distinct flaw. Every time it activates, a lock appears instantly, and I can only steal once that lock is broken. The difficulty of breaking the lock depends entirely on how much the owner values what's being stolen. Even a pebble on the roadside. If its owner treasures it like a priceless gem, the lock becomes nearly impossible to crack, and for something as godlike as regression, Arthur would naturally value it above all else. The difficulty should have been off the charts. I think back to the moment before I was reborn. Dark Feast did activate, but the lock that should have appeared never did. If there was no lock at all, does that mean Arthur had already wanted to let go of it? The man they call the king of heroes. Sometimes, just for a moment, he'd let a look of pure exhaustion show through, like a man carrying an impossible weight, walking alone into a dying world again and again. Maybe for him, endless regression had become no different from a curse, grinding him down until there was nothing left to give. After a long silence, I slowly raised my head. Well then, I only took what you were desperate to throw away. If anything, Arthur, you should be thanking me. Before leaving the room, I stop in front of the mirror. The reflection looks about 10 years old. Not tall, but with lean, well-defined muscle from years of sword training. After all, behind me stands House Wilhelm, the greatest martial clan in all of the kingdom of Stalen. Going by my memories, I'm right at the age just before the clan's proving right. The proving right is the cornerstone of House Wilhelm. It determines which deity a member forms a contract with and what abilities they are granted. It is the ultimate trial to prove one's worth. The higher the tier of the deity one contracts with, the brighter their future. That is why direct line descendants have always been treasured by the clan. But I was the one exception. Born without a shred of martial talent, I had received no divine favor at the proving right and became the laughingstock of the entire clan. I was cast out without mercy and exiled to Greenspire Manor, a place reserved for those the clan had given up on. But what no one knows is that this good-for-nothing now carries every secret of the world's end inside his head. A catastrophe so total that even the Azure Vanguard could not stop it. But as someone who has lived through regression, surely I can stop it this time. My hand clenches into a fist, eyes blazing with resolve. This isn't a question of whether I can. I have to. If this world falls, I fall with it. I've barely reached the top of the stairs when a familiar figure makes my eyes go sharp. Aldor, the old steward, bowing toward me. In my original memories, Aldor was Greenspire Manor's only steward, and the only one who ever genuinely cared for me. But in my 14th year, acting on orders from my older brother's faction, he had poisoned me in secret. That was the first betrayal of my life. I lose myself in thought. Charlotte, my half-sister, a once-in-a-thousand-years talent within House Wilhelm. She had claimed the title of Sword Saint at just 15 years old. It was because of her that House Wilhelm had pulled itself out of decline and reclaimed its glory. But Belric, another direct descendant of House Wilhelm, stared after Charlotte's retreating back, his eyes dark and menacing. He had to claim the title of first-in-line heir to House Wilhelm, but moving against Charlotte was too risky, and her mother was a formidable obstacle, so Belric's gaze had fallen on me instead. Naturally, Belric had sought out Aldor. He slowly slid a vial exuding an eerie aura across the table toward Aldor. Just one drop given to that worthless Kael, and his daughter's medical bills, along with every debt attached to them, would be wiped clean. Aldor had closed his eyes. Young Master Kael was the child he had raised as his own. He simply could not bring himself to go through with it. Belric's gaze cut like a cold blade. So you're choosing someone else's child over your own daughter? In my past life, this was the day Aldor was supposed to make his move. But he couldn't overcome his own conscience, and in the end he chose to take his own life. Unable to bear the guilt, Aldor had drunk the poisoned broth meant for me, and collapsed, unconscious, on the cold floor. Looking at Aldor standing alive before me now, my voice comes out flat and cold. Where did you hide it? The poison Belric gave you to kill me. Aldor goes rigid. The color drains from his face instantly. He waves his hands, insisting he knows nothing about any poison. How long do you plan on playing dumb? I press. You were ready to discard a piece of trash like me just to pay for your daughter's treatment, weren't you? At that, the last trace of color drains from Aldor's face. Inside, I sigh quietly. In my past life, this same pressure had driven him to his end, and I was the only reason he had received such a cruel order in the first place. Aldor stands frozen. He had expected an outburst, but instead, I show nothing of the sort. If anything, it feels like I've already forgiven him entirely. I reach out to him, my voice softening just slightly. There's one condition for my forgiveness. The scene shifts to the public library of Greenspire Manor. I stop walking and turn to Aldor with a single order. Break open the wall behind us. Aldor freezes, certain he must have misheard. I say calmly, for a steward of House Wilhelm, something this small shouldn't be a problem. Without another word, Aldor draws the sword at his hip. He spins and swings. The blade crashes into the wall, and behind the crumbling rubble, a dark, narrow passage is revealed. Aldor's jaw drops. A secret passage, hidden here of all places. A memory from the past rises in my mind. In my past life, a great fire had reduced reduced all of Greenspire Manor to ash, including this passage that no one knew about. My regression had brought me back to a moment just before that disaster. Aldor eyes the heavy chains across the passage entrance and quickly offers to cut through those as well. I raise a hand to stop him. No need! That lock, no blade can cut it! Before the words even leave my mouth, shadow energy erupts from my body and takes shape. A grinning shadow creature, mouth stretched wide. In an instant, the creature drives its razor claws into the massive lock on the passage door, and a storm of shadow tendrils lashes against the chains. With a sharp crack, the heavy chains snap in two. I catch them in one hand, weighing them briefly. It seems my abilities have yet to fully return to their peak. Aldor beside me is struck completely speechless. His voice shakes as he asks, "Have I already formed a contract with a deity? How else could I possess power like this?" Hearing that, I stop dead. I'd almost forgotten. At this point in time, I'm supposed to be a total failure. So I give a vague answer. More or less, just a contract with a minor deity, nothing worth mentioning. As for the matter of this passage, if you want to report it to my father, that's entirely up to you. Aldor is already deep in shock. Just yesterday, I had seemed like a hollow shell, someone who had lost all will to live. Yet overnight, I have become a completely different person, wielding power on par with one who is contracted with a deity. He sets his jaw and declares, "Until I have achieved my goal, he will not breathe a word of this to anyone." Something becomes clear to me. So this is the price of regression. The moment I make a different choice, the paths of those around me shift with it, but the Aldor who betrayed me still lives clearly in my memory. Could it be that Arthur let me steal regression so easily due to this sort of butterfly effect in destiny? If I can cure Aldor's daughter, his loyalty will be absolute. I need to move quickly, build up the pieces on my board while I still can. But before any of that, what lies inside this secret passage is the priority. My gaze locks onto the heavy wooden door ahead. In the next instant, I thrust out my right hand, and scorching energy coalesces in my palm. The heat is so intense the air itself seems to tremble. Goosebumps break out all over my body. This sensation, I'm not mistaken. The secret manuals of our ancestor Damaris. They're right here. This passage leads to House Wilhelm's secret archive, a hidden library lost to the clan. Preserved within it, without exception, are the techniques and legacies of the fallen ancestors House Wilhelm has ever produced. These are not divine gifts. These are the crystallized wisdom of human blood and toil. Precious archives left by those who fell short in their ascent to the peak. This place was once open to all, until one person caused it to be sealed completely. That person was the ancestor Damaris Wilhelm, the man regarded as the most worthless in House Wilhelm's history, but after the world erosion, he ascended to become the strongest of his time. Damaris was both House Wilhelm's greatest failure and its most terrifying power. When he wielded his strength, the greatest warriors in the world came one after another to challenge him, and without exception, not one of them could withstand him. He absorbed every drop of the world erosion's cursed energy, assimilating it as his own. He then left behind manuals detailing exactly how to harness that power. Sadly, the passage of time has caused part of those manuals to be lost. I never understood why a powerhouse like Damaris ultimately degenerated into a crazed monster. Now I see. It was the untamable power of the erosion that consumed him. In my past life, after being afflicted by the curse of the world erosion, I used my skill Dark Feast to wear down its power. I then neutralized the remainder with other curses, barely clinging to my sanity, applying the same principle to control the rampage of the extreme blood poison from Damaris's manuals. If I can steal a curse that suppresses loss of control, I will be able to neutralize this power. Two powers clash and devour each other, and then I will stand as an equal to Damaris himself. With that thought settled, I turn to Aldor and issue the order in a low, firm voice. From today on, no one is to enter Greenspire Manor. Meanwhile, at the main estate of House Wilhelm, Belric tears the letter in his hands to pieces. For that worthless failure, Aldor, you dare refuse my proposal? That so-called sword prodigy Charlotte and the exiled failure Kael, both of them are making his blood boil right now. And if not for that woman's tainted bloodline entering the mix, he and his sister Lilith could have held the direct line position securely. With that thought burning in his mind, he signals his men. Go to Greenspire Manor immediately. Find out why that old steward Aldor suddenly changed his mind. His man looks troubled. Aldor is standing guard at the front gate, sword in hand, like an immovable sentinel, and he has declared that not even the clan head may enter without permission. Inside the secret archive, I sit cross-legged, shrouded in a sinister dark energy that makes the very air feel heavy and suffocating. A slow smile creeps onto my face. Finally, I'm on the verge of breaking through to the expert tier. In this world, Aura has 4 ranks: Aura User, Aura Expert, Aura Master, and Aura Emperor. Aura users are just beginners who can barely wield energy. Aura Expert is a line between ordinary people and geniuses, and the most common rank. And Charlotte, only 2 years older than me, is already approaching Aura Master. Even knowing what I know, coming back through regression, her talent still catches me off guard, but my expression sharpens quickly. Even a monster like Charlotte had been powerless when the world fell. After finishing my training, I take a towel and wipe the sweat from my face. I wonder why Aldor is waiting here specifically for me. In the next instant, Aldor's expression goes serious. My fiancée, Miss Bianca Hartson, has arrived at Greenspire Manor. My eyes go sharp. A name flashes through my mind, one that sends a chill straight through me. The White Devil, Bianca. The one who would become a puppet of the world erosion and personally ignite the catastrophe that ended everything. The one who had defeated one of the 10 greatest warriors in the world and made an entire continent tremble through sheer individual power. And yet, the small figure standing in the courtyard right now is nothing more than the overlooked youngest daughter of House Hartson. House Wilhelm wanted to wash their hands of a failure like me, while House Hartson, rulers of the North, sought a marriage tie to the realm's strongest martial clan. The truth was simple, both sides were merely using us as tools. I rest my chin in my hand, a glint of calculation crossing my eyes. I had been planning to seek Bianca out myself. I never expected her to walk right through my door, and I know exactly what she's made of. The youngest daughter of House Hartson, rulers of the North. Her mother had been struck by World Erosion's curse while pregnant, so the Snow Doll curse passed directly through her mother's bloodline and became a mark she was born with and could never escape. The curse runs so deep into the soul that even the greatest curse breakers in the world had been powerless against it, and a body tainted by it cannot form a divine contract at all. She came into the world at the cost of her mother's life, and from the moment of her birth she was treated as an ill omen, enduring nothing but cold shoulders and rejection within House Hartson. That said, does Bianca hate me right now? I let out a small, easy laugh. It doesn't matter. As long as it doesn't get in the way of taking her curse, I can work with it, because the Snow Doll curse is exactly the key I need to keep the extreme blood poison from spiraling out of control. A scene from 5 months ago flashes through my mind. I had turned Bianca away harshly when she came to visit. Get out. House Hartson is only after House Wilhelm's power, so stop pretending to be my fiancé. I remember Bianca clenching her fists tight, watching the door slam shut in her face, leaving her alone in that empty, cold hallway, and her father's words still echoed. For the survival of House Hartson, they had no choice. And Bianca, you're pretty enough, so surely you can win over the youngest son of House Wilhelm. Even without feelings, she knows right from wrong. If her family hadn't forced this political marriage on her, she would never have anything to do with a foul-mouthed failure like me. The scene returns to the guest hall of Greenspire Manor. I wear a warm, easy smile. I can't believe the servants poured your tea this hot. I'll have a word with them later. Bianca sits with an expressionless face, her hands tightening instinctively around the teacup. I quickly gesture toward the window. The weather's nice today. Would you like to take a walk in the courtyard? There are flowers here you probably don't see up north. Turn to Aldor and tell him to bring the macadamia nuts to the garden pavilion. My smile remains gentle. You must be exhausted from traveling so far, Bianca. Now that we're engaged, we should get to know each other better. Bianca follows silently behind me, but her voice is laced with suspicion. I can't help turning back with a teasing smile. You sound more like you're reporting to a commanding officer than talking to your fiancé. Bianca says nothing, but inside, a storm is raging. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. Last time we met, my eyes were like poison-dipped blades. Today, I'm a completely different person. Stranger still, she never told me she likes macadamia nuts. Bianca stares at my back, and her chest suddenly tightens. Bloodlust. She senses a flash of bloodlust from me, the kind of aura only someone who has fought for their life can possess. Nothing like the whiny, useless wreck she knew. Truthfully, I no longer remember exactly how I treated Bianca before, but I remember that cold, distant look on her face perfectly. It's exactly the same as the day she died at the North Sea Pavilion. With that thought, I pull up a bright, open smile. Don't be too surprised, Bianca. I recently formed a contract with the deity. It's changed me quite a bit in both personality and strength. Bianca gives a small nod, and much of her suspicion fades. A contract with a deity, that explains all these changes. But then another thought surfaces quietly. Is all this warmth just a way to end the engagement on his terms? After all, he no longer needs a political marriage to prove anything. I pause, almost as if I've read her thoughts, and then put on a dejected expression, saying I understand if she doesn't want to marry someone like me, and that I get how she must feel about ending the engagement. Bianca watches me, and a strange feeling stirs in her chest. He's the direct young master of House Wilhelm. He's already been recognized by the deities. So why is his pride still so fragile? A shadow flickers across Bianca's eyes, but her voice is firm. The fact that I'm your fiancé will never change. Those words stop me cold. I stare at her unwavering face, and something quietly warms inside my chest. How long has it been since someone said something that real to me? I clear my throat and get straight to the point. I want to use the ability I've awakened to take the Snow Doll curse from her. Bianca stares at me in disbelief. Does he want to transfer the curse to himself? That curse, the one that has defeated every renowned curse breaker, and he wants to take it on willingly? I reply calmly, my voice unshakable. Give it to me, and I'll grant you any wish, even breaking our engagement. I have a simple plan. Having no feelings is actually a plus. Bianca must be sick of this political marriage. Trading the curse for the engagement's end is an absolute steal for me. But Bianca's mind begins to wander. She considers my status as the family reject, sensing the deep rift between me and the main bloodline. Perhaps he's just grown so exhausted by everything that he wants to throw away his own feelings entirely. A mentalist mage once told her, when a person's spirit is pushed to the limit, the soul itself begins to fester. They may take their own life, or suddenly become a completely different person. Those moments are dangerous. They are the signal that someone is approaching their end. If anyone around her ever became like that, she must stay by their side. Bianca can't help but wonder, was he never really recognized by the deities? Could he have just lost his mind? Bianca suddenly reaches out and takes my hand in both of hers. It's alright, Kyle. I believe you can get through this. You don't need to rely on a curse. You just need to learn to manage your feelings. I stare at her, completely baffled. Bianca, I think you may have misunderstood something. Bianca completely ignores me and keeps going. From now on, she will come visit often. I stare at her, floored. Don't you hate me? Her eyes remain completely steady. Even so, I cannot abandon someone standing at the edge of a cliff. My heart sinks, and I understand immediately. Once Bianca commits to something, she sees it through without hesitation. But she has clearly gotten the wrong idea entirely. With that thought, I quietly activate Dark Feast, and in the next moment it coils silently around Bianca's wrist. Then my body jolts, because the unlock condition for stealing this curse is becoming Bianca's friend. An incredibly rare double lock has triggered. This curse has existed within Bianca since birth. The system already treats it as part of her very being. But the unlock condition, becoming Bianca's friend, is far harder to meet than becoming her fiancé. fiancé ever was. And Bianca has no real feelings for me. She's indifferent to nearly everything. If she returns to House Hartson, it will only accelerate her transformation into the White Devil. So I have to keep her close. That way I can stop her from becoming what she was, while also looking for the chance to unlock the curse. With that settled, I shift immediately into a smile. I'm really glad you said that, and I'd love to see my fiancé often too. A moment later I stand at the gate, watching Bianca's carriage roll away into the distance. Frequent visits will still need her father's approval first. As for Bianca's next visit, that will probably be about a month from now. Before then, I need to get through more of the secret manuals and build up my strength. Time moves quickly. The next day, a carriage pulls up to the gate, packed full with bags and boxes of every size. I turn at the sound, and find Bianca standing at the entrance of the manor. She greets me with a flat, expressionless, "Good morning, Kale." Then she drops the news she's moving into Greenspire Manor today. "I look forward to our time together," she says. The next morning, I slowly open my eyes, and the moment I turn my head, there's Bianca, curled up quietly at the edge of the bed, sound asleep. I stare at her small figure and grumble inwardly. Bianca fell asleep here again. If anyone sees this, they'll definitely get the wrong idea. Even as I step into the training grounds, my mind is still somewhere else. It hits me then Bianca and I have been living under the same roof for several months now. I still remember the day she showed up at Greenspire Manor out of nowhere, completely calm, and announced that she was moving in. Looking back now, Bianca has always been emotionally distant, detached even from her own family. That emotional numbness might be exactly what makes it easier for me to become her friend. Time slips by, and before long, the year is drawing to a close, which means the opening day of Laren Academy is getting closer. Founded jointly by the 4 great kingdoms and the Empire, Laren Academy exists for one purpose: training warriors to fight back against world erosion. It only accepts students between 15 and 20 years old, and in my past life, it was the birthplace of countless Azure Vanguard members. Those people and their outrageously overpowered abilities. I quietly clench my fist. With the memories of my past life, I know every one of their weaknesses. The moment I set foot in that academy, their abilities are mine for the taking. But my talent seems to have hit a wall. Training on the Wilhelm ancestors' secret manuals alone, I can barely scratch the surface of the Aura Expert rank. I need to steal Bianca's Snowdoll curse, and soon. I push open the training ground doors, and sure enough, Bianca is already there, waiting for me. "Waiting here again today?" I ask casually. Bianca stands up and answers with complete seriousness. "Yes, I can't let you be on your own. Ever since she moved in, she's followed me around like a baby bird. She even asks before I go to the bathroom." I scratch the back of my head, at a loss. When is Bianca ever going to see me as a friend? Then Bianca hugs a book to her chest and asks if I want to go out with her. She received an invitation to the Star Sanctuary not long ago. It's the Kingdom of Stalin's annual social event for young nobles. Barring exceptional circumstances, every invited noble is expected to attend. Memories from my past life flash through my mind. Before the regression, I had locked myself away in Greenspire Manor and never attended, but that person should be there. And with my reputation as the family's useless young master, the guests at the Star Sanctuary will almost certainly badmouth Bianca because of me. But Bianca's eyes are bright. "It doesn't matter," she says. "It is my duty as your fiancé to protect you." I reach out and gently rest my hand on her head. "I'm not asking as your fiancé, Bianca. I'm asking what you actually want." The question catches Bianca off guard, and she falls silent. The way I've been treating her lately, it feels foreign to her. I ask what she wants for breakfast. I hold her hand on the way to the library. This kind of warmth, it was something she never knew in House Hartson. At that, Bianca lifts her head. Her gaze is clear and steady. "I'll go with you," she says. "Not as your fiancé, but because I want to." A few days later, Bianca and I arrive at the grand banquet hall of the Star Sanctuary. In this world, the nobility is respected for one reason above all else. They stand in place of the common people and fight against world erosion. But looking at this crowd, drowning in music and wine, can these people really be trusted with the kingdom's future? A warm welcome to young Master Kyle Wilhelm and Miss Bianca Hartson. The announcer's voice rings out, and the moment it fades, the whispers begin. Is that the worthless youngest son of House Wilhelm? The beauty beside him must be that cursed daughter of the northern rulers. What? A waste of a pretty face. Aye, here they've been engaged since childhood. 2 outcasts, a match made in hell, I suppose. I keep my expression blank. Their words don't touch me. Stooping to their level would be the real disgrace. Then a voice cuts through the crowd. "So you're the young master of House Wilhelm?" My gaze sweeps across the 3 who spoke. In my past life, all 3 of them joined the Azure Vanguard and became Stalin's 3 greatest heroes. Their interest in me is almost certainly because of Charlotte. Sure enough, the very next moment, Charlotte appears dressed in a striking red gown. She glances around at the assembled nobles with open contempt. "Nice dress," she says. "Too bad everyone trying to talk to me is pathetically weak." The Star Sanctuary? To Charlotte, it might as well be called the trash heap. Bianca quietly tugs at my sleeve. Her voice is soft but firm. "Please don't let them get to you." Something stirs in my chest. Bianca is being talked about too, and yet she's worried about me. Just then, the announcer's voice rings out again. "A warm welcome to the distinguished Lord Danfarian." It's Danfarian, the most eccentric alchemist alive, the biggest show-off in any room, and the very reason I decided to attend the Star Sanctuary tonight. I remember it clearly. Before the regression, my bare body was covered in eerie black runes, like dark vines coiling tight around every inch of me. Then a voice burst into my ear, bright and excited. "Your entire body is covered in curse markings. What on earth happened to you?" Danfarian leaned in, scrutinizing the runes with glowing eyes. He muttered to himself, "Looks like an erosion curse. Mix this formula with that reagent and it should do it." With that, Danfarian spread his arms wide, a manic grin spreading across his face. "Then let's get started right now." My face was forced to one side. Despite my desperate struggles, My mouth was squeezed out of shape by his grip. All I could let out were muffled cries, and that was my very first encounter with the man known as the world's greatest alchemist. Back in the Star Sanctuary's banquet hall while Danfarian is busy soaking up the crowd's attention, I grab a plate of delicate pastries from the banquet table, hand it to Bianca, and tell her to wait for me here. Bianca stuffs her mouth full and answers with a muffled sound. As I turn to leave, I catch Danfarian's eyes on me searching, curious. That boy, he thinks. He feels familiar somehow. Danfarian's eyes light up in an instant. You look just like Charlotte Wilhelm, don't tell me you're her little brother? A faint smirk crosses my lips. So the great alchemist is interested in me? Danfarian's smile freezes. His eyes narrow, and his tone drops a degree. Quite the provocative brat. Since you've managed to catch my interest, you'd better be ready for what comes next. In a side room off the banquet hall, Danfarian stands with his back to me and asks out of nowhere, how old is the young master of House Wilhelm? I cast my eyes down, my voice calm and unbending. 13. I can guess why he's asking. My past life memories make me give off an air of maturity far beyond my years. Danfarian picks up a sword, then hurls the other one straight at me. My pupils shrink. I throw up my arm just in time, barely parrying the blade with my crossguard. My arm goes numb with the impact, but I grit my teeth, grip the sword with both hands, and clash hard against Danfarian's blade. Then I swing sharp and sudden. A flash of blue aura traces a razor arc along the blade's edge. Danfarian blocks it, and his face is a mask of disbelief. Weren't you supposed to be a total good-for-nothing? My expression doesn't change, but my mind is running fast. I might look frail, but looks can be deceiving. Not a single day of training has been skipped. But the real thought cutting through my head, brute force won't work on a scholar like him. I need to hit something he actually cares about. So I drop my voice low, speaking right through the clash of blades. That research you're doing on neutralizing curses, I wouldn't mind giving you a hand. Danfarian's pupils shrink. What does a kid like you know about alchemy, and you think you can collaborate with me? I sidestep his next strike smoothly. I already know I've hit a nerve. I press the attack. Neutralizing a world erosion curse with another curse, it's a problem no cursebreaker has ever solved, but to be a truly great alchemist, you need to prove it's possible. Am I wrong? If you'll let me, I can help you finish that research using my ability to steal curses. Danfarian's jaw drops. His eyes blaze with sudden hunger. An ability to steal curses? But you haven't even mastered your aura yet. But if everything I'm saying is true, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance to prove that curses can be controlled, and to validate the synthesis theory. Danfarian suddenly leans in close to me. And what do I owe you for this? Or, want to be my boyfriend? I cut him off, not bothering to hide my irritation. I'll probably end up taking on multiple curses. What I need are drugs that can suppress the backlash. The words leave me, and my thoughts sink into the past. Stealing abilities alone was never enough. Even the Azure Vanguard with all their extraordinary skills failed to stop the world from falling apart. Someone who has already failed once cannot afford to be selective. Medicine, power, anything that makes me stronger, I'll take all of it. Meanwhile, Danfarian's mind drifts to Charlotte, that overwhelming, breathtaking genius. So both of the Wilhelm siblings are genuinely fascinating to him. Then he shifts abruptly. Are you planning to attend Laren Academy when it opens? I grin. Isn't that obvious? The academy is full of abilities just waiting for me to steal. It's practically a stage built just for me. My expression turns serious. There's one more thing I need from you. You know about chromatic blight, don't you? The disease that turns the skin dark and always proves fatal. I want you to create a cure. Danfarian's smile dies on his face. Do you not understand what incurable means? Even the kingdom's finest alchemist can't accomplish the impossible. But you did do it, I say quietly. Just not until much later. When the cure is ready, come find me at Greenspire Manor. Before we part ways, I ask one last question. I've been wondering, you like my sister Charlotte, don't you? He confirms it, so I press on. Then why say there's still a place by your side and ask me to be your boyfriend? Danfarian folds his hands, a mysterious smile on his lips. Young Master Kael is still so innocent. The truth is, I like boys too. I go completely rigid. Words fail me entirely. I wrench myself away and bolt out of the room. I skid to a stop just outside the banquet hall doors. A man I don't recognize is gripping Bianca's wrist tightly. In an instant, I move cutting through the crowd like lightning. My kick slams straight into his face. My voice turns ice cold. Who gave you the nerve to put your hands on someone who belongs to me? I step toward him slowly, my eyes cold as ice. You put your hands on a 12-year-old girl. What kind of sick bastard are you? The man stumbles backward in a panic, pointing into the crowd. I was only following Princess Claudia's orders. I was just supposed to bring the girl. The crowd erupts. He's acting on the second princess's orders? My eyes narrow. Princess Claudia Stalin, the most politically cunning woman in the royal family. My gaze drifts, settling on a small figure tucked into the corner of the crowd. Bianca carries the bloodline of the northern rulers, and yet every noble looks down on her because of her curse. A princess who keeps only loyal servants close. Why would she specifically summon Bianca? There has to be something behind this. From the corner of my eye, I sweep the shadows at the edge of the crowd. Several noble figures are watching, silent, hidden, waiting. And deeper in the dark, a vague silhouette with a strange smile curling at his lips. Something clicks. Kalen Glazier, the one who is always obsessed over my sister Charlotte. After being publicly defeated at the Star Sanctuary, his hatred for Charlotte had consumed him, and yet he could never shake his admiration for her either. Knowing he couldn't beat Charlotte, he turned his sights on me, her younger brother. A cold laugh escapes me. What a pathetic scheme. And what gives him the right to drag Bianca into this? I step forward, my voice calm and deliberate. Take me there. Not to the princess, to Kalen. I turn to Bianca, confusion tightening in my chest. I only know who's behind this because of memories from before the regression, but Bianca is only 12. There's no way she could know any of that. So why did she refuse the princess's summons? I look her straight in the eyes. Why didn't you follow the princess's orders? Bianca lowers her gaze slowly. Because you told me to wait here. Something hits me like a bolt of lightning. My pupils shrink and my whole body locks up. Then I reach up and gently run my hand through her hair. "Well done, Bianca." I push open the door and a boy comes sauntering over, stretching his arms above his head, ash-gray hair and fuzzy animal ears perched on top. This is Riker, a young man of the Tiger Clan, a highly skilled twin blade specialist, and someone whose mood is impossible to read. I keep my expression blank. "I'm here to see Kalen." Riker smiles and gestures toward the depths of the hall. "He's been waiting for quite a while." I pause. I was hoping to avoid getting tangled up with this guy, and yet here we are. Then Riker suddenly grabs my shoulder. "How about a fight just between us?" I answer coldly, trying to brush past the problem. "The Star Sanctuary prohibits unsanctioned combat between nobles." Riker shoves his face right up to mine, his tone dripping with challenge. "But I fought Charlotte before this. You're her little brother, you should be able to fight too." He looks me up and down. "Though you look a lot weaker than she does." I laugh inwardly. The rumors didn't lie. When Riker fought Charlotte, he had outperformed even Kalen, and among the very best fighters, his strength still ranked above the rest. And that combat instinct of his raw, unpredictable, like a beast in a fight. But I have no interest in dealing with him before I've seen Kalen. But those beast-like vertical pupils of his burn with pure, unmasked bloodlust. He has no intention of letting me through. The next moment my hand snaps shut around Riker's incoming fist. His face goes blank with shock. He clearly did not expect that. My eyes turn cold. I grab him and slam him into the ground like he's trash. Before he can move, my foot is already pressing down on his back. Then I drive a heavy punch straight down. Riker crumples to the floor, clutching his stomach. I straighten and let out a slow breath. My expression smooths back into calm as if that burst of violence never happened. Riker struggles to get up. "Kale, you didn't hold back at all." I roll my neck and correct him. "You provoked me first." Riker reaches out a hand, eyes lighting up with excitement. "Perfect. Can I grab my weapon before we go again?" My gaze drops. I take one look at the state of him barely holding together. More importantly, can you even stand? Riker's grin freezes. The next second his legs give out and he falls straight backward with a dull thud. Out cold. Bianca hurries over, a barely visible flicker of concern in her eyes. "What exactly did you do?" I keep my back to her. Voice even. "I used one of House Wilhelm's secret arts, an ancient forbidden technique created by Wilhelm's exiles, one that unleashes maximum destructive force at point-blank range, under the right conditions. It can even bypass armor and strike directly at the organs. Before the regression, it was the only secret art recovered before Greenspire Manor burned to the ground. In my past life, it was what dragged me back from the brink of death time and time again." A moment later, Kalen looks down at Riker on the floor, a note of genuine surprise in his voice. "Unbelievable. The so-called worthless young master actually beat Riker." I let out a tired breath. "Isn't that exactly what you put him there for, to test me? And you used Princess Claudia to draw me out. So naturally I came to meet the man pulling the strings myself." Kalen studies me with obvious interest. "How did you see through it? Something about you feels off. The aura you're giving off right now. It's nothing like the rumors." I let a deliberate pause hang in the air. "Or maybe you're the one who spread those rumors about me being a failure. But if you lose today to this so-called worthless young master," a slow, confident smile pulls at my lips, "then all those rumors will have to change. Wouldn't you agree, Kalen?" Kalen Glazier. From Laren Academy to the founding of the Azure Vanguard, we had walked side by side for a long time. Friends, that's what we called it. But I knew him too well. He never approached anyone without a reason, without something to gain. Behind every relationship lay the coldest calculation imaginable. Memories from my past life come flooding back. It was during a mission with the Azure Vanguard. I struggled, screaming, begging Kalen to save me. But in that moment, only one thought crossed Kalen's mind. If the leadership found out he'd fallen for a trap, the same trap that wiped out the entire team, with the power struggle within the organization already so fierce, he would be cast out without question. But if he were the only one left alive, no one would ever know the truth. Kalen stepped out of the shadows, his smile turning almost gentle. He would pin everything on me. After all, everyone already hated me, and the truth would simply fade away. "I truly am grateful," he said softly, "for staying by my side right until the very end." The words rip out of me. "When did you ever actually see me as a friend? You only approached me because of Charlotte from the start, isn't that right? You've been distracted all day because she's getting married, haven't you?" Kalen's voice cuts like a blade, the warmth gone entirely. "That's why I hate you. You have no real power, yet your instincts are disgustingly sharp, and you just can't help tearing the truth open no matter the cost. If Charlotte is truly getting married, then this little charade between us ends today." Kalen stops. He glances back over his shoulder. "But isn't this better? Charlotte wouldn't want her wedding and her little brother's funeral on the same day, would she?" Just as my body is about to give way, a hand reaches out and pulls me back from the edge. It was Arthur. That moment became the turning point, the beginning of our partnership, and another tragedy. In the end, with Arthur's intervention, Kalen was expelled from the Azure Vanguard, and yet, seeing him now, he hasn't changed at all. Kalen's voice pulls me back to the present. "The way you speak, that face of yours, you really do remind me of Charlotte." Dark violet energy surges around me. "Don't speak her name so casually. If you think I look like Charlotte, then congratulations, you're right. Just like her, I never turned down a challenge." The next moment, a fist wrapped in dark violet energy tears through the air. I drive my fist straight at Kalen, but the moment it lands, thick vines burst from the shadows. They coil tight around my arms, my legs, my waist. The force is brutal, slamming me into the ground. I plant one hand on the floor and barely keep myself upright. Kalen lets out a soft laugh. "Is that all?" Kyle, you really should be using a weapon. He lifts a hand. This is House Glazier's secret art plant strengthened and controlled through spirit energy and regenerated to sustain the technique. I grab one of the vines coiled around my arm and snap it clean. The broken length sits comfortably in my hand, like a well-balanced club. You suggested I use a weapon? Fine, I'll use yours. A cold smile curls at Kaylin's lips. Then let's see you block my next move with that little stick. Before the words are even out, dozens of razor-sharp vines explode in from every direction. I pivot the club in my hand, blurring into after images, splitting every incoming vine with precision. Kaylin's smile freezes. He dodged every single one. How is that possible? For a genius like Charlotte, maybe. But him? Has he awakened something like a heavenly eye? No matter how hard he thinks, he'll never figure it out. To him, I'm a natural counter. Before the regression, I had already seen everything Kaylin could do, and I'd long since grown tired of his tricks. I pause, then deliberately press where it hurts. You're thinking about Charlotte again right now, aren't you, Kaylin? Kaylin's face darkens instantly. He slams his fist into the ground. Watch your mouth. The next moment, a colossal wooden arm tears up from the earth, descending on me with devastating, world-splitting force. From behind the door, Charlotte's startled cry rings out. She bursts through and the towering construct already blots out the sky. A direct hit would turn me into nothing, but I slowly lower my head. In my mind, the thinnest volume in Greenspire Manor's secret manual collection rises to the surface. Written by one of the Wilhelm ancestors, a man who had no martial talent his entire life and simply swung a sword day after day. In his final years, at the age of 80, he left behind a manual containing only a single line, the sum of a lifetime spent with the sword. The technique demanded the unity of 5 elements, something no amount of short-term training could ever reach. But I, driven to the brink of death time and time again by countless curses, clawing my way back each time, forced my way into that realm. The sword is me. I am the sword. Without a weapon, my will is the sharpest blade of all. The thought settles. I raise my hand, slowly, pure, concentrated aura gathering in my palm. A blinding arc of white light erupts skyward like the blade of dawn itself and cleaves straight into the massive fist. The fist splits clean down the middle. Cracks race across the giant's body, spreading in an instant, and the strike, unstoppable, shatters it into a storm of fragments. Charlotte and Bianca rush over, only to freeze in the doorway, staring. For a moment, they forget how to breathe. Kaylin's face is pure disbelief, as if what he just witnessed is something that cannot exist. I walk out through the settling dust. The dark violet energy is gone, but my gaze is still sharp as ever. Don't ever let it go to your head again. Understood, you worthless fool? Every trace of Kaylin's earlier arrogance is gone. His eyes are hollow, the look of a man whose soul has left him. I slump forward, exhausted. Damn it. I had planned to conserve enough strength to slowly work toward stealing his abilities afterward. But the ancestor's sword intent just now drained nearly everything I had. My limbs feel like they're made of lead. Then soft footsteps approach from behind, and a pair of arms quietly steadies me. It's Bianca. Her cheek presses against my back, and a bone-cold yet strangely calming magic seeps slowly through her palms into my body. My body convulses. A cry of pain tears out of me as I throw my head back. Danfurian's voice cuts through, unusually alarmed. He rushes over without a word and hauls my limp body over his shoulder. Behind us, the banquet hall has erupted into a frenzy. What was that noise? Did I hear right? The worthless young master of House Wilhelm actually defeated Kaylin? Danfurian tilts his head to listen, a smirk tugging at his lips. Word travels faster than he expected. He glances down at my unconscious face, his expression sobering. He genuinely cannot tell if this kid is outrageously reckless or simply doesn't have a brain. But one way or another, when I wake up, every noble in Stalin will know the name Kyle Wilhelm. He looks up at the night sky and murmurs under his breath, "You absolutely cannot die before helping me finish the curse neutralization research." 7 days pass in the blink of an eye. I have been pushing my swordsmanship day and night in the training grounds, and the after effects of that strike have finally cleared completely. If I had forced myself to use the ancestor's sword intent again back then, and pushed myself into the abyss, my outcome would have been far worse than Kaylin's. On the carriage ride home that day, I was unconscious for a full day. If I had come around even partway, I could have at least laid the groundwork for stealing Kaylin's abilities. I had already worked out 2 methods for taking someone's skills. The first is the standard activation method of my innate skill Dark Feast. The second is guiding the target into self-doubt, making them truly believe deep down that their own abilities are worthless. For Kaylin, the second method is always my plan. It's a simpler method. All it takes is crushing the opponent with overwhelming force, and his prized family secret art was taken down in one single strike. The belief he once held in his own abilities has already shattered completely. Being crushed by someone he considered worthless, Kaylin will eventually break under the weight of that doubt. I grip my sword tightly, resolute. Even if I have to bide my time, that life-saving recovery skill of Kaylin will eventually be mine for the taking. 1 year left before Laren Academy opens its doors. I plan to pour every minute into training to catch up to those so-called geniuses, and surpass them. But Aldor appears at the courtyard entrance. Young Master Kael Lord Belric arrived at Greenspire Manor. A cold laugh rises in my chest, so my dear brother finally couldn't hold himself back. I drop into a chair in the sitting room. Let him in. Aldor has barely stepped out when Bianca walks over with a glass of water. She furrows her brow slightly. "You smell strongly of sweat." I freeze, then tug my collar aside and sniff. I'm so used to the rot of world erosion that my nose is numb. Makes sense. When I burn my aura to temper my body, all the impurities get sweated out. Bianca's expression is cool, but there's quiet stubbornness underneath. "You should wash up before meeting Belric." I wave a hand, unbothered. "Don't bother. I'll be moving around soon anyway. Washing up now would just be a waste." Bianca immediately steps back half a pace, every inch of her radiating resistance. "Then please do not come near me until you have." I blink, an eyebrow going up on its own. Are you giving orders to your fiancé, Bianca? I didn't realize you'd grown up so much. Watching her face go into a flustered panic, something vague and soft drifts through me. In my past life, consumed by destruction and struggle, I never once lived like this. The people who once stood beside me, especially Arthur. If he could see how loose and careless I am right now, he'd fix me with those always tense eyes of his and stare me down without a word. He was always that kind of hero standing at the front line, never once letting his guard down. So where is he now? And what is he doing? Then a cold voice comes from outside the door. Looks like you're having quite a good time with your fiancé, Kyle. I turned toward the man standing in the doorway. Belric Wilhelm, my third brother, with ambition written all over him. His gaze cuts like a blade of ice. Are the rumors about you defeating Kalen actually true? I once couldn't even bear to look at him, but now I face him calmly. I chuckle and change the subject. I didn't expect to see someone as busy as you here. What brings you to a quiet place like Greenspire Manor? Belric stiffens, slightly, clearly not expecting me to turn it around on him. I tilt my head, my tone unmistakably pointed. I hear Laren Academy accepts students on merit alone, regardless of family name. That's true, isn't it? Seems like you'd better start preparing. Belric's face goes pale with fury in an instant. Even the mightiest empire holds House Wilhelm in check. And as the rightful heir of the main bloodline, he has never needed to bother with something as trivial as an entrance examination. His lip curls with contempt. Don't let beating someone like Kalen go to your head. I tilt my head with exaggerated innocence. Isn't it perfectly natural for someone ordinary like me to worry about exam results? Belric clears his throat and pivots smoothly. The reason I came today is to deliver the family's orders. You are to travel to Grirak Volcano and suppress the world erosion breaking out there. My eyes narrow sharply. The family's erosion missions are supposed to be mandatory only after the age of 15. Belric's stare is all calculated pressure. He says I have nothing to worry about, he'll accompany me as my guardian. After all, if his little brother can take down Kalen Glazier, surely I won't back down from something this trivial. I see through him instantly. First a probe of my strength, then an attempt to put me on a leash. I accept without a second thought. Let's head out. Compared to the peaceful days of late, dealing with erosion is familiar territory. Even if this is a trap, I've already mapped my way out. Just then, Bianca comes hurrying over with a book in her arms, asking where I'm headed. I give her a brief explanation. Bianca's brow furrows. Sending a 13-year-old child to stop world erosion, isn't that just absurd? Belric's face darkens instantly. A cursed snow girl like you dares to stick her nose into House Wilhelm's affairs? I immediately pull Bianca behind me, shielding her firmly. She's my fiancé. Surely a magnanimous brother like you wouldn't stoop to picking on a 12-year-old. Belric lets out a cold snort and turns to leave with long, deliberate strides. I smile and ruffle the top of Bianca's head, telling her she did well. Bianca clutches her books and blinks. Baffled, she says she didn't really do anything. My hand rests softly in her hair. It's fine even if you don't realize it. Bianca looks up at me, her clear eyes full of sincerity. She asks me to please take care of myself. I turn away and tighten my grip on the hilt of my sword at my waist. Take care, Bianca. When we arrive, I find that Grirak Volcano is nothing like it used to be. Where towering peaks once stood, vast stretches of swampland have taken their place. This area is classified as a rank 3 erosion zone, a region already slipping beyond the veil of our dimension. World erosion is the process where another dimension gnaws at the fabric of reality. As it wears thin, corrupted creatures begin to roam. If the erosion persists, the entire region is swallowed whole, lost to the other side forever. I scan the area, my tone far too calm for someone seeing this for the first time. The Purification Corps hasn't mobilized yet? A knight replies that once the local erosion lord is dealt with, the Purification Corps will move in immediately, and Lord Belric is a senior specialist. Taking down a corrupted erosion lord is nothing to him. What no one knows, however, is that I have a second purpose for coming here to test a temporary fix for my berserk outbursts. Lost in thought, I raise my sword and slash forward in one clean motion. A massive beetle-like creature is cleaved to pieces in an instant. A knight nearby can't contain his curiosity and asks whether I've dealt with world erosion before. I tilt my chin up, a hint of pride in my voice. I'm only 13. Wouldn't it be stranger if I had? Beside me, a vein pulses at Belric's temple. This useless little brat steps into an erosion zone for the first time, and already acts like he owns it. When Belric had first come to a place like this at 15, his pride had been all but shattered. So what gives me the right to stand here offering advice to his knights? If I'd had the same upbringing as Charlotte, the failure of House Wilhelm would have been him instead. The thought settles in his chest. He speaks evenly, warning that this is likely a rank 3 erosion lord capable of maintaining a physical form on its own, which means every move from here forward must be made with caution. The knights go pale at once, their bodies locking in place. I watch their backs and think quietly, with or without my involvement, it doesn't much matter. I should focus on what I came here to do. But the very next second, my eyes fly wide open. Ever since I mastered the family's secret arts, my perception has far surpassed what it once was. I can pierce through the surface of reality and see directly into the source of world erosion. That mass of tainted energy drifting in the air, that is exactly what I came for. The thought barely finishes before I snap my head back and inhale it without a moment's hesitation. The next instant, red veins flood my eyes, and a mouthful of thick, metallic sweet liquid surges up and bursts from my lips. The knights rush over in a panic, asking if something is wrong with me. Even Belric strides forward, and for once there is something close to genuine concern in his voice. He says I've pushed myself too hard for a first time here if I need it. He'll carry me back to camp. I slowly raise my head. I'm fine. Just as the technique for extreme blood poison dictates, force the aura to merge with the erosion energy. Then, focus entirely on how that energy circulates. If all goes as expected, it will circulate endlessly, like a river with no beginning and no end. The instant the erosion energy is drawn in, the surging torrent engulfs and devours it, until they are seamlessly fused. What emerges is a primordial hue, a true color that no power in existence can overwrite. The next second, my pupils bleed crimson. I snap upright, my entire body shaking violently under the surge of power. So this is what's left behind after a berserk outburst, the wreckage of that force. I stare at my blood-soaked trembling hands. My reason teeters on the edge before this ruinous power. Perhaps it's time to use that forbidden art. House Wilhelm's secret archives had been permanently sealed after a certain incident, and with them, that forbidden art was believed lost to history. Until one day, a blind ancestor had stumbled upon the sealed archives by chance, but his blindness left him unable to read the manuals inside. He had no choice but to seal the door once more, but he knew that someone like himself might never come again, so he quietly kept one manual for himself. And that is precisely the forbidden power I now invoke. A torrential blue aura erupts from my entire body. This is an aura-based extrasensory perception, a sixth sense that sees through all things using spirit energy alone. For now it only extends to my fingertips, but it's enough to put everything around me within my control. I slowly raise my hand and wipe the blood from the corner of my mouth. Even so, this is only a stopgap. Absorbing erosion energy will always carry the risk of losing control. When that time comes, I'll still need Bianca's snow doll curse. The next moment I spin around and cold sweat drenches my back in an instant. Suspended in midair, a colossal mass of flesh writhes and pulses with frantic, sickening motion. A twisted human face suddenly blooms across its surface right before my eyes. The next second, those eyes snap open. The mass of flesh slowly distorts, reshaping itself until it solidifies into the silhouette of a man. Belric raises his voice at once, warning everyone. This is a rank 3 erosion lord, the many-faced demon. The accompanying family knights draw their swords in an instant, every face grim and braced for the worst. At the same time, roaring flames engulf Belric's body, leaving only a pair of cold eyes sweeping the sea of fire with indifferent calm. A nearby trainee knight stares up with blazing awe in his eyes. Lord Belric's flame magic is breathtaking as ever, not just spectacular, but devastating. That skill burns everything it touches to ash. My eyes lock onto that burning blade, a memory carved into the bone Ignis. In my past life, this very skill had burned my left arm to nothing. Back then, Belric had planted his foot on me and ground me into the dirt. He had roared down at me with crushing contempt. Could you finally see the gap between us? I had no time to waste on trash like you. The Belric of my past life had been a complete madman, and right now I sincerely hope you haven't changed at all. With that thought, a sick, burning hunger for vengeance ignites in my eyes. At the same moment, a dense violet aura erupts from within me. Before the echo of those words fades, a knight on the battlefield nearby lets out a bone-chilling shriek. His body contorts violently within the erosion energy. His features slowly melt away until his entire face becomes a smooth, featureless sheet of skin. Another knight points at the many-faced demon, his face white with terror. The curse of the visage, they need to fall back before it spreads any further. Sending raw recruits against cursed tentacles that even veteran knights struggle to withstand would be throwing their lives away for nothing. On the other side, Belric draws his sword in one sharp motion. Rather than retreating a single step, he wraps himself in flames and charges straight at the many-faced demon. The flames swallow his body whole, turning him into a burning meteor that crashes down from midair. The creature tears its massive maw open in a silent shriek with no chance to dodge. The next moment, the monster is reduced to cinders in the explosion, the ground shaking violently beneath the impact. Belric stands with sword in hand and roars at the scattering soldiers. No one retreats, he will tear open a path himself. The surviving knights stare, completely dumbstruck. They erupt into fervent cries. Truly worthy of the name Lord Belric of House Wilhelm. Belric's gaze sweeps the area. He wonders where I've disappeared to. Has some erosion creature swallowed me whole? Meanwhile, I am crouched behind a thick slab of rock. I watch clearly as tears of blood slide from the corners of the monster's eyes. That isn't normal. The next moment, the many-faced demon's body begins to convulse violently. Countless blurred human faces writhe and twist beneath its skin. Black viscous fluid pours from the eye sockets of every face. Belric senses the situation deteriorating fast and dives down in a streak of fire. The twisted faces shatter piece by piece under the impact, but a suffocating pressure surges up through the earth and spreads in every direction. Belric's face darkens. This overwhelming malice, they have to cut it down before the full transformation is complete. With that, he raises his flaming sword and shouts the order to every knight behind him: focus all attacks on the many-faced demon. The words barely leave his mouth before he leaps into the air, the flaming blade poised for a killing blow. But the killing stroke never lands. An invisible force of darkness stops the sword dead in midair. Flame and curse force collide with a shrieking, shattering roar. Belric's entire body jolts, an attack enhanced with aura blocked. He steadies himself and roars at the knights again, strike with everything while the transformation is still incomplete. But this time not a single voice answers from behind. Belric spins around and the color drains from his face. Every knight behind him stands frozen, utterly motionless, as though every last trace of their soul has been stripped away. Belric roars in fury, "You are knights of House Wilhelm. Are you really going to be broken by a curse like this?" Still, not one person answers. The knights stare ahead with blank, hollow expressions, nothing more than puppets on strings. Belric finally grasps it. A curse. This was never ordinary erosion, not from the very beginning, and his own arrogance had led the entire unit to its destruction. destruction. A moment later, nothing remains in Belric's eyes but bone-deep terror. The once invincible strongest bloodline of House Wilhelm now wears nothing but despair across his face. A phantom whisper coils into his ear, laced with the venom of the curse. You're a fool. Charlotte left you far behind long ago. You're nothing but a failure riding on your family's name. The entire night unit died because of your pride, and all you can think about is saving yourself. A failure like you deserves to die. The words have barely faded when the many-faced demon's claws tear downward with a piercing shriek of air. Just as the claws are about to rip him apart, a faint green light flashes past. Belric's body is hurled aside, barely clearing the killing blow. He forces his eyes open, and what meets his gaze is me, the brother he had always written off as House Wilhelm's failure. His voice is thick with disbelief. How are you here? I meet his gaze without a flinch. I'd been watching from the shadows the whole time. The moment the many-faced demon struck, I used the cover of its blind spot to pull you off the battlefield. Belric braces against the ground and tries to stand, but the moment he lifts his leg it buckles and he crashes back down. A short derisive laugh escapes me, and I make no effort to hide the contempt in my voice. With a body that can't even gather aura right now, are you really sure you don't need my help, Belric? Belric forces himself upright, swaying, and declares he doesn't need help from a failure like me. The words barely leave his mouth before a violent tremor runs through his body. His eyes dart frantically across the rain-drenched forest. Is the many-faced demon still close? My voice rises slowly. We've been moving for a while now since I pulled you out, but no matter how far we walk, we can't find the edge of this forest. That tells us everything. This erosion zone has completely sealed itself off. In other words, unless we kill that creature, neither of us is going home. I continue. I have a technique one Charlotte taught me herself, her ultimate move. The reason I was able to crush Kaelin Glazier so effortlessly at the Star Sanctuary was because of this. Belric's voice holds one last thread of resistance. Do you actually believe a technique like that can kill the many-faced demon? My answer comes without a moment's pause. Better to fight to the death than fall here and become nourishment for the monster. Even if you don't believe in me, surely you believe in Charlotte's strength. Belric pulls out a smile bitter enough to sting. Charlotte, she is, without question, a genius. He drives the tip of his sword into the mud. But if this fails, we both die in this forsaken place. A slow smile curves my lips. Don't worry. I promise we both walk out of here alive. Back at Gurak Volcano, the crushing presence of the many-faced demon draws closer with every second. The cold, cursed air clings to the skin with the rain. My voice tightens as I turn to Belric. Are you ready? Belric looks down at his palm. A flame ignites. When he slowly raises his eyes, all the old arrogance is gone. Let's begin. With that, he channels a portion of his flame power into me. I draw a deep breath, and a blazing blue light erupts from every part of me. I close my eyes and let the rain trace down my jaw. Every thread of focus, every last reserve of power, all of it pours into the edge of the blade. Belric goes completely still. He has never seen anyone condense their focus to this degree, as though everything around them has ceased to exist, and that immaculate energy surrounding me a source of power he has never come close to touching in his entire life. Earlier, when I asked him to fuse Ignis with Charlotte's secret art, he dismissed it with contempt, treating it as nothing but the wild ravings of a fool. Yet the power now on display before him stands at a height he could never reach no matter how hard he tried. He watches the aura burning around me. That flame is purer than anything he has ever drawn from Ignis. He always saw me as a failure, but now my power leaves him in the dust. Endless defeat swallows Belric whole. He had abandoned all his men and fled in disgrace. If I am the one who raises the sword and kills the many-faced demon in the end, doesn't that prove he is weaker than me, the acknowledged failure? Before he can sink any further into self-doubt, I launch into the air. The fire-wreathed blade and Ignis flame crash together in a thunderous fusion, and the combined force slams into the cursed body of the many-faced demon. With a thunderous boom, the flames swallow the many-faced demon whole. That body covered in countless faces contorts in absolute terror and dissolves into ash within the blaze. Sunlight breaks through the clouds and falls across the scorched earth. I raise my head and look to Belric beside me, hollow and adrift. It's over, I tell him. But Belric suddenly twists into a grotesque smile, one that hides the jealousy and madness of a man with nowhere left to run. Just like that? Finished so easily? He seizes his sword hilt in a white-knuckled grip, and a low, ugly laugh crawls up from his throat. The next second he swings for my throat. I raise my blade and block him, but there is not a trace of Ignis in his sword. Belric stares at his own blade in shock, his pupils shrinking with disbelief. Why can't he use Ignis anymore? My cold voice cuts straight through his despair. I should thank you, Belric. Thank you for always being too proud and too rigid to ever change. The conditions for stealing Ignis were actually quite simple. First, get Belric to willingly surrender partial control of his power, then make him acknowledge in his heart that someone else is stronger, and finally the moment his pride completely shatters. That was all it took. Ignis is now entirely mine. Belric lets out a wail like a dying animal. I look down at him, crumpled on the ground, my voice carrying a chill that cuts to the bone. In the beginning, I genuinely wanted to be real brothers with you, but no matter what I did, you only ever saw me as someone you could trample whenever it suited you. When you used Ignis to grind my dignity to nothing, I writhed on the ground in agony exactly the way you're lying there now. I slowly raise my head and look at the clear sky above. What a beautifully ironic day, perfectly suited for what comes next. By the time I return to the main Wilhelm estate, word of the entire night unit's annihilation has already spread. The incident has been reclassified as a rank 5 erosion event, and the testimony I fabricated has become the truth. Everyone believes that Belric sacrificed himself heroically to protect me, giving his life to cut down the many-faced demon and preserve the last glory of House Wilhelm. I lean against the door doorway and watched this absurd scene unfold. This expedition gave me far more than I had anticipated. I have fully adapted to the environment of extreme blood poison. The sixth sense can now suppress the berserk erosion force to a meaningful degree, and the stolen Ignis has merged with the power of world erosion, granting me a dark force capable of burning everything to nothing. The only remaining threat is the ongoing investigation into the anomalies at the erosion site, though they have yet to uncover the truth. Yet, the root of all this is world erosion itself. Though the erosion lord's true essence has long been submerged in an eternal dream, it still peers at this world through the eyes of its minions. But once those undead begin to stir, it means I've run into their minions far sooner than I expected. I raise my hand and knock softly on the door before me. The moment it swings open, my pupils snap tight. Standing before me is Saphira, a rank 4 investigator of the Erosion Bureau. A star-shaped mark on her neck catches my eye instantly. I let a quiet, certain smile form on my lips. I tell her I want to make a deal. I will personally erase her undying mark. Saphira tilts her head slightly. The confusion on her face fades in an instant, replaced by a strange smile that seems to see through everything. Her figure slowly dissolves into the darkness behind her. So you are the regressor. I had come looking for something else entirely and stumbled onto a surprise far greater than I had bargained for. Just now, a fragment of memory from my past life surfaces. I remember it acting on Arthur's orders, attempting to steal August's undying core, but it had ended in failure. The sheer number of projection clones he had created was nothing but a ruse. His true body had been cursed and rendered unable to move, even with a second chance. Completing that mission would have been impossible, because the condition for stealing August's undying core is to become a stronger existence than the undying himself. My brow furrows. What exactly made you think I am the regressor? Saphira's laughter grows more twisted. No ordinary person would ever dare propose a deal with a being like her. Only a regressor trapped in the loop of time would have the reckless nerve to walk straight into certain death. She is a being that transcends time, immortal and indestructible. If I truly wanted to kill her, it would be an impossibility. So she asked me not to entertain her with such clumsy lies in the future. But I don't yield an inch. This is no lie. My ability is called theft. It doesn't just steal skills, I can strip away your immortality along with everything else. For the first time, genuine shock flickers across Saphira's eyes. I squeeze my fist until my knuckles crack. For hundreds of years, you have been raising the erosion ratings and spreading your clones across the world like the Saphira currently serving in the Erosion Bureau. And all of it has been to find someone capable of killing you for good. Well, the one who can steal your immortal curse is standing right in front of you. Saphira doesn't hesitate. She yields and asks in a low voice, "What are your terms? Help me grow stronger. My ability can only activate when I surpass you in strength, so take me on as your apprentice." Saphira's pupils contract sharply, then she bursts into wild, unhinged laughter. She slowly extends her hand as crimson power coils across her palm. "I will forge you into the most ultimate, unrivaled warrior this world has ever seen." The next moment, an invisible wave of pressure crashes into me, throwing me back several steps, and this is only the aura of August's projection. The master of the Crimson Court had once stood as an equal to Arthur himself, and now commands a legion built from the power of erosion. With his help, I will grow stronger, no matter if the power I borrow belongs to an invader. I will protect this world that stands on the edge of ruin, but skills are a singular force in this world bound to one person for life. By that rule, Arthur's regression has returned to him in this timeline. That means I can no longer restart the loop by my own will. If this world falls again, I will turn to dust alongside it. No second chances. A faint smile of relief settles on my face. Then I'm glad to have you with me, August. More than any of that, Saphira is curious why I don't live at the main Wilhelm estate. My voice carries nothing. I haven't been here in years. I can barely remember what my parents look like anymore. At that moment, a hooded maidservant appears in the center of the hall and informs me that Lady Clara wishes to speak with me. My expression freezes. My mother. All the years I've lived at Greenspire Manor, she never once showed her face, not even a single letter. And now this sudden summons. She must have heard the rumors that I defeated Kalen Glazer and helped cut down the many-faced demon. So at last, she's grown curious about her failure of a son. The maidservant gives a slow nod. There is also the family head. He intends to meet me in person upon returning from the Forbidden Grounds. That man, the head of the family who long ago ascended to the demigod realm, perhaps his stellar intuition has already sensed the surging power and the unique soul fluctuations within me. The maidservant continues. Therefore, Lady Clara hopes you will remain within the main estate until then. But Bianca is waiting for me at Greenspire Manor. The thought turns me toward the door. This isn't an order from my father himself, so I'll be heading back. The maid watches my retreating figure in utter shock, clearly never imagining someone would dare defy the lady of the house. I stride out of the hall without looking back. When my father truly wishes to see me, I will return. Or better yet, he'll come find me himself. The carriage back moves quickly, and soon I arrive at Greenspire Manor. Before stepping out of the carriage, I turn to Saphira, who has taken the form of a crow, and give her a quiet instruction. There's a white-haired girl inside. From now on, be kind to her. At that same moment, Bianca stands waiting with a book clutched tightly to her chest. She must have heard the news at the library and come rushing out to meet me. I look down at her, a soft smile tugging at my lips. "See? I told you I'd be back on time." Just then, Aldor steps forward and hands me a letter. He says it's from young Master Danfarian. Inside it says the treatment reagent for chromatic blight I had commissioned is now complete. I hand the letter back to Aldor. "When Danfarian arrives at Greenspire Manor, receive him with the highest honors because he is about to become your benefactor." At those words, Aldor shifts his tone. He tells me that Bianca has been deeply worried. The moment she heard I had gone to an erosion zone, she had a carriage prepared, intending to go to the main estate herself once the mission was over. They managed to stop her in time, because a young girl showing up unannounced at the main estate would have been far too dangerous. My expression sharpens. I haven't checked the state of Bianca's curse in a while now. Could it be? Before the thought is finished, a surge of violet energy erupts without warning and washes over all of Greenspire Manor. At the same moment, a system notification surfaces. First unlock condition achieved. Kyle Wilhelm has successfully become Bianca's friend. Of all the moments, Bianca's first pair of cursed shackles breaks now. That leaves only one final restriction. I push the thought aside and introduce August to Bianca. This, I tell her, is a new member soon to join Greenspire Manor, and only now do I notice just how much Bianca adores soft little animals. So what comes next? Finding a way to break the second cursed shackle, becoming the person Bianca treasures most. But the condition is frustratingly vague. For most people, that title belongs to family, or children, or perhaps a closest friend or a lover. Since I am already Bianca's fiancé, becoming her lover seems like the most likely path. But this also serves as a reminder. Before my regression, stealing a curse never involved conditions this complicated. Then again, thinking it over, it makes sense. In this life, every person's path has shifted. A short while later, I am standing in the training grounds, and in that silence, a brutal truth settles into me. I've made up for my lack of talent in a way that borders on monstrous, filling every gap with hard-earned experience and memories from my past life. But give it 5 years, once those true geniuses build up experience of their own, I might not even be able to keep up. Even Kalen Glazier, the one I effortlessly subdued at the Star Sanctuary, by the time he turns 20, I won't be able to keep up with him. But if August only cared about talent, he would never have taken me in as his apprentice. In his eyes, if you possess a power that can take anything, then even talent is something you can steal, and he'll lift me, someone who's spent a lifetime crawling up into the sky, until the day I stand above the clouds myself and take his immortal body along with everything else. Time moves quickly, and the next day arrives. Danfarian appears as promised at Greenspire Manor. Before I can say a word, Danfarian breaks into a grin and slowly draws a small crystal vial from his pack. The task I gave him is done, so he's basically an alchemy genius now, isn't he? Despite his half-joking tone, the answer slips out before I can think. You always were. The answer catches Danfarian off guard. He doesn't expect me to simply confirm his own boast so bluntly. Most people assume talent is everywhere in this world after all. So many have reached the pinnacle of their own fields. But I know better than anyone. True geniuses are few and far between. Having lived a past life in the Azure Vanguard, where the greatest talents converged, I know that denying excellence only makes one look petty. That is why I've always been open about recognizing true genius. Through Danfarian, I hear of Kalen Glazier. Crushed by Charlotte, he'd given up, convinced no effort could close the gap. But seeing me, the family failure, reach the top at the Star Sanctuary, something in him snapped. Now he's training with a frantic intensity unlike ever before. I listen, and my voice carries nothing but contempt, pointless struggle. To me, Kalen Glazier has always been nothing more than a backstabbing traitor. Whatever doubts he wrestles with, none of it has anything to do with me. Just then, a voice pierces my mind, an invasive form of telepathy that only August, the immortal of the Crimson Court, would ever use. He had never expected the kingdom of Stalen to possess any real talent beyond House Wilhelm, and yet, hidden in plain sight, he has found a remarkably useful pawn. August's crimson-slit pupils, sharp as a crow's, glint faintly. He has already seen through Danfarian's talent, and more importantly, how to make use of it. The elixir in question is a forbidden concoction, one that vastly enhances both the body and one's battle aura. Incredibly rare and prohibitively expensive, its formula has long been guarded as a closely kept secret within noble lineages, and yet, August demands its creation without hesitation. Even for someone as gifted as Danfarian, this is no simple brew. But August dismisses all doubt, claiming he has already unraveled the formula. All that remains is an alchemist with sufficient experience. At the mention of the elixir, Danfarian lets out a quiet laugh. Are you looking to boost your strength by swallowing some miracle drug? Or has watching Kalen start his training finally gotten under your skin? He studies me in silence. Truth be told, he knows little about my background, but word of his alchemical talent had spread far and wide long ago, so a request like this was hardly surprising. I relay the formula exactly as August described it, word for word. Danfarian listens in silence, his expression growing more serious with every word, because what I am describing is a formula beyond anything he has ever conceived. He turns it over and over in his mind, his face caught between confusion and disbelief. Then the shock breaks through. He demands to know how I came by this formula. I toss out a casual excuse. It's a secret formula passed down through House Wilhelm. Danfarian's eyes light up instantly, but a few of the ingredients are beyond even his reach. The Snowblaze Shroom and the Aurelian Dragon Root in particular. The Snowblaze Shroom grows primarily in the northern territories of House Hartson. The mountain ranges there are so treacherous that few herb merchants from the kingdom ever make the journey. With Bianca's help, though, obtaining it should be no problem. Then Danfarian raises another concern. As for the Aurelian Dragon Root, surely you know what that is. It is a specialty of the Empire. Due to direct imperial oversight, no legal means of purchase exists within the kingdom of Stalen. Even if you turn to the black market, you must be careful not to be caught by the Empire. Danfarian does not look troubled for long. The Empire is about to host 2 martial tournaments, one for adults and one for competitors under 15. The Empire's real interest lies in the latter. The rewards are far more generous. Place in the top 3, and the Aurelian Dragon Root is yours. I know exactly why the Empire is hosting this tournament. It's a talent grab for Laren Academy. While the Academy stands as a symbol of reconciliation, it's actually a political battlefield. By planting their own people, factions expand their power. If I, a direct descendant of House Wilhelm, were to enter, I'd turn the whole competition upside down. At that, Danfarian's eyes light up at once. He reaches into his coat and produces a small vial. This, he says, can change the user's appearance entirely. What I did not expect. The elixir changes more than just appearance. It changes gender entirely. The next day, at the public training grounds, I stand before August, eyes closed, sword in hand. Closing my eyes is not surrender, it is focus. I channel the sixth sense awakened through the secret art. Every subtle shift in the air, every ripple of energy, every flicker of intent from my opponent, all of it flows into my awareness. I am still at the very beginning. Yet, in the next instant, my blade moves, intercepting August's strike before it even fully forms. August's scoff rings out above me. That so-called sixth sense of yours, he admits, is actually somewhat interesting. Years of hard-won combat experience combined with this half-baked secret art, and somehow I have actually carved out a real method in my swordsmanship. The method he speaks of is the blunt blade technique. Push the sixth sense to its absolute limit, read the opponent's intent, then move one step ahead to seal off every possible line of attack. It appears slow, yet commands the entire fight, an uncanny style of swordsmanship that borders on true precognition. Yesterday, Danfarian had explained it to me, an extraordinarily rare shape-shifting elixir. Its effects last a full week. As his latest refined formula, it is virtually undetectable by any magical scan, and will not register as a prohibited stimulant, so I register as an ordinary commoner from the kingdom of Stalin. There's just one catch. The disguise forms based on the user's deepest personality. Today, according to plan, I set out for the martial tournament. Aldor has already been waiting by the carriage for some time. My mind drifts back to the day Danfarian delivered the chromatic blight antidote. I had handed it to Aldor without hesitation. At first he was utterly confused, but the moment he learned it was a cure for his daughter, he dropped to his knees right there before me. This man passed 50, weeping without words. He told me how much he loved his daughter, how her illness had once driven him to the edge of betrayal. I said only a few quiet words to him. Do not throw your life away so easily. Your daughter's life was returned by my hand, so you are not permitted to die without my permission, Aldor. That is the only condition I ask of you. From that moment on, Aldor has regarded me as the master he will serve for the rest of his life, and I can finally put to rest the memory of Aldor's poisoned death in my past life. As for his daughter, saving her was not merely a means to secure loyalty, it was to mend an old wound. The crack left in me by that first betrayal has, at last, begun to heal. As for Bianca, she has set out at my request, heading back to House Hartson in the Northern Territories. Her mission, to retrieve the snow-blazed shroom, one of the two ingredients Danfarian requires, 3 days out from the kingdom of Stalin. The traveling merchant leading our route is clearly a seasoned traveler between kingdoms. Her chosen path almost perfectly skirts every region of world erosion. Following August's advice, I dedicate the journey entirely to training. There will be time enough to absorb the erosion energy along the return route. With that in mind, my training takes on a surprisingly unhurried quality. It is at this moment that a group of bandits cuts off the merchant on the road ahead. Their crude, leering laughter marks them immediately. Outlaws who have made their home in unclaimed land. Just as they are about to close in, a sharp crack splits the air. The short blade leaves my hand, flies straight, and drives clean through the man's skull. Oral, the leader of the group, reacts fastest. One cold sweep of his eyes and he knows, I am no ordinary boy. In the next instant he is upon me like lightning, cleaving straight for a vital point. Clang! I throw my sword up on instinct to block. The force hits like a wave. My body lifts off the ground and skids back several steps. Contempt flashes in Oral's eyes. So I only took down his man by catching him off guard. What I do next only deepens that conviction. The swordsmanship I display is laughably slow. So slow, he cannot make sense of it. How can something this sluggish possibly be stopping his attacks? I say nothing. With that deceptively unhurried rhythm, I seal off every killing strike he throws. It plants a strange illusion in Aurel's mind, as though he is not the one attacking, but rather I am the one guiding his axe into my blade. Aurel can take no more. He reaches for his trump card. Instead, he is met by my voice, freezing and sharp. What he just unleashed was a forbidden imperial art. So, you're just a lapdog for that most wanted criminal, Beckman. Memories from my past life surge forward. A massacre that had shaken the empire. A single man, known only as the Masked Hound, who had slaughtered an entire village on his own. He had taken on the power of a world erosion agent and become a corrupted thrall, much like Bianca, the White Devil, once enslaved by a curse, reduced to a monster's instrument spreading ruin across the land. The Masked Hound would eventually slip into the kingdom of Stalin and meet his end at Charlotte's own hands. It was the defining feat that made Charlotte's name ring across the empire. At 16, she brought down this corrupted thrall alone. I look at Aurel, panicked, scrambling. My brow tightens. The air around me drops cold. The moment confusion crosses his face, that massive frame of his slowly crumples to the ground. The Masked Hound will die by Charlotte's hand regardless. No need to waste any more attention on his small-time lackeys. What matters now is finishing the tournament and securing the Aurelian dragon root, because Beckman's appearance has come far earlier than it did in my past life. 2.5 days later, the registration hall of the Athenian Empire Martial Tournament. Competitors from all over the world have packed the hall to capacity. As an event spearheaded by the Empire, it has naturally drawn the gaze of every major power. Suddenly, a clear, crisp voice rings out from the balcony. So many interesting people in one place. How delightful. I look up to see a young girl draped lazily over the railing, exuding an air of pure innocence. She is Lyra Ephanian, the Empire's 4th princess. I'm no stranger to the rumors surrounding her. If I recall correctly, she's only 14, the youngest of the Empire's royal daughters. Young as she is, her intellect is staggering. At 7, she solved a mathematical problem that had stumped the Empire's finest scholars for years. But her shortcomings are equally legendary. Incorrigible and wild, she remains nothing more than an overgrown child. On top of that, Lyra was born with a frail constitution, wholly unfit for the brutality of the imperial succession. So she plays the part of a careless idler, deliberately keeping herself out of the line of fire. A sly smile slowly curves at the corner of Lyra's mouth. All these delicious-looking prospects gathered together. She will pick them out one by one, send them into Laren Academy, and have them become her little pawns. Then her gaze locks onto me. Instinctively, I pull my presence inward. Lyra's voice carries a teasing lilt. Funny, there is a distinctly villainous aura rolling off me, practically the spitting image of House Wilhelm, the Empire's enemy. I take the registration papers and stride out of the hall. The details on them are entirely fabricated. Name, Daniel, age 11, born in Ashford, a small frontier town on the Empire's edge. One objective remains: the Aurelian dragon root, a key ingredient specified by August, and a critical asset for strengthening my body and closing the gaps in my abilities. With the preliminaries 2 days away, I need to find somewhere to stay and get my head right. Reality hits hard. I try inn after inn. Every single one is full. Competitors and spectators flood every corner of the city. Even the tucked-away guest houses in the back alleys have hung out their no vacancy signs. One night out in the open would be manageable, but the tournament runs at least another week until the finals. Sleeping on the streets every night is a quick way to blow my cover. Just as I'm standing there, stuck, a gentle voice reaches my ear. I look up. An elderly woman with white hair stands before me, a warm smile on her face. "You look like you're here for the tournament," she says. "If you don't mind a humble place, there happens to be a spare room at my home." I don't hesitate. I accept on the spot. Along the way, August chuckles from my shoulder, teasing me. "Didn't anyone teach you not to follow strangers?" I ignore him. I've had enough of sleeping on the streets during my past life's battle against the world erosion. A roof over my head is better than being exposed to danger, and besides, this elderly woman shows no ill intent. The elderly woman gestures me upstairs. I pick up my bag and head up to the second floor. It is then that a familiar figure appears before me. The moment I make out who it is, my body locks up. Standing there is none other than Lyra, the Empire's unruly fourth princess. Her face is rarely seen outside the palace walls. She must be dead certain no one here could recognize her. Confident enough to stroll through a commoner's district without a care. It clicks immediately. No wonder the elderly woman offered so readily. Lyra must have been tailing me from the moment I left the registration hall. I just cannot figure out what she did to steer me here without me noticing. Of all things, the good-for-nothing young master of House Wilhelm now sharing a roof with the Empire's fourth princess. What shocks me even more, Lyra not only reveals her own name without hesitation, she has already seen through my true origins. Although the Empire and the Kingdom of Stalin share the same language, Stalin speakers place slightly heavier stress on plosive syllables. No matter how much I blend in imperial speech patterns, the core of it cannot be hidden. While I head downstairs for a meal, Lyra and her attendant Celia are murmuring quietly together. "You said he has seen through your identity. What do you mean?" Exactly what I mean. The way he acted around me made it clear he'd already seen through me long ago. The way he behaved when he first met the elderly woman was nothing like how he acted with me. The key is how people act when meeting for the first time. Strangers are usually cautious and distant around each other. But his reaction wasn't that at all. It was the ease of someone who already knew me well, and yet that only deepens Lyra's confusion. She is certain this is the first time she has ever laid eyes on this boy. How could someone who has never once appeared in her memory treat her with such familiarity? Was he pretending to know me on purpose? Only a con artist of unparalleled skill could possibly fool her eyes. She quickly runs through several possibilities in her head, then lets out a soft chuckle. Perhaps he really is just a complete thorough liar. But more than that, what truly weighs on her is the state of her sister Saralyn. At that, Celia's expression shifts immediately. Piecing together everything she has observed, the third princess Saralyn is indeed a completely different person from who she was a year ago. Saralyn Aphanian, third princess of the Empire, Lyra's older sister, gifted with extraordinary swordsmanship talent, the pride of the entire nation, destined to be the Empire's most brilliant swordmaster. But Lyra had sensed something wrong as far back as a year ago. The Saralyn standing before her now is no longer the sister she once knew. Time moves quickly. The day of the tournament preliminaries arrives, a straightforward test of raw strength. The qualifiers are straightforward yet ruthless. It's a 100-man battle royale, and only the top 4 advance. Everyone else is out. After the brutal training under August, handling opponents at this level is no problem at all. After the preliminaries, I walk slowly toward the rest corridor. Then, from behind me comes the sound of slow clapping and laughter. In the corner stands a strange figure, his entire face wrapped in bandages. He stares fixedly at me, a twisted smile seeping through the gaps in the cloth. My voice is cold and sharp. "What exactly are you barking about over there?" I've never been kind to shady figures like him. Because an interesting playmate has shown up, naturally I'd laugh. "If I'm not wrong, you were sent by the assassination group Night Raven, weren't you?" I frown. Night Raven, the Empire's most ruthless shadow organization. I never expected them to show up here. Even with 2 lifetimes of memories, I can't map every secret the Empire hides. In my past life at the Academy, their name was never mentioned. The royals would have to be insane to let assassins set foot on campus. But in the next instant, a name detonates in my mind, and a bone-deep chill crawls up my spine. Saralyn Aphanian, the Empire's third princess, a regressor just like me, carrying the memories of a past life. I deny it coldly, saying I have no idea what he's talking about. The bandaged man's gaze flicks to August. "The crow on your shoulder is proof enough," he says. "With that dark, sinister aura about you, you look just like someone who crawled out of the underworld." He grins slyly. "Don't worry. I have no intention of exposing you. After all, the force behind you is not someone I dare provoke. But since we're both from the underworld, why not watch each other's backs?" With that, he waves casually and turns to leave. I watch his retreating figure, figure, my gaze going completely cold. Whoever this person is, I need to know exactly who I am dealing with. August moves in an instant, dropping down in front of the bandaged man. In the next second, the man freezes entirely, his eyes going blank and hollow. August sighs. Just a low-level hypnosis. In this state, whatever I ask, he will answer truthfully. The bandaged man turns his head blankly, completely under. His flat voice delivers a shock. The Night Raven organization was nearly wiped out recently. They are only here at the tournament on their new master's orders, ready to submit completely once their mission is done. And the one behind the Night Raven's destruction is none other than the Empire's second prince, Zephon. This throws me into complete confusion. This has to be a deliberately planted rumor. Zephon could never have the capability to take down an organization like the Night Raven. The Night Raven's secret goes much deeper. This legendary group of assassins is actually the Imperial family's shadow. They might look like underworld outlaws, but they are the Emperor's claws, doing all the dirty work in the dark. Word is, wearing a crow mark protects you in the back alleys. But that's just a royal lie. It's meant to make the Night Raven look scarier, while the crown uses it to spy on corrupt nobles and keep everyone in check. In my memories from my past life, Zephon's role was to support and strengthen the First Prince's faction. If he were to be eliminated first, the First Prince's power base would collapse in an instant. It points immediately to one person, Cyril Nathanian. No one else I can think of has both the means and the ambition for something like this. This is not Zephon's ambition at all. It is a trap laid by Cerilyn. The rumors about Zephon controlling the Night Raven were almost certainly spread by Cerilyn herself, fanning the flames from behind the scenes, until even underground figures like the bandaged man have heard them. I drop my head, running through the Imperial family roster at full speed. Damn. Cerilyn's real target was never the First Prince or Zephon. It is Lyra Ephanian, the fourth princess who plays the fool but misses nothing. In my past life, just as the First Prince fell to Cerilyn and she was on the verge of placing Arthur on the throne, Lyra hid the Imperial seal of the dragon, the symbol of Imperial authority, and then took her own life. Without the Imperial seal of the dragon, no one can claim the throne with legitimacy. It is an unspoken rule stretching back 1,000 years. In the end, Cerilyn and Arthur managed to take the throne, but without the seal, they could not unite the Empire. They were rulers in name only. This left the Empire crumbling from within, defenseless against the spreading world erosion. So naturally, after her regression, Cerilyn plans to take out this obstacle early. Then I will not allow Cerilyn's plan to succeed. But before that, I need to find the real Night Raven agent hidden among the finalists. As the tournament preliminaries draw to a close, a rumor spreads through every street and alley of the capital. Among the youth competitors, there is said to be a member of the mysterious assassination organization, the Night Raven. More than half the spectators have come specifically because of this rumor, craning their necks in anticipation, eager to see whether the story holds any truth. And the jet black crow perched on my shoulder is a perfect match for the symbol associated with the Night Raven in that rumor. Combined with my appearance and manner, every inch the image of an assassin steps straight out of the Empire's underworld. Everyone is dead certain I am the Night Raven competitor from the rumors. The goal is achieved. As I walk the corridor leading away from the arena, a man stands at the far end of the corridor, as though waiting for me. His eyes are dead and cold. The moment he sees me, the corner of his mouth curls into an unsettling arc. Does impersonating the Night Raven amuse you that much? Before the words even settle, a razor-sharp killing intent washes over me. A blade gleaming with cold light is already at my throat. But I was ready. The instant before the blade makes contact, I reach back and lock my hand around his wrist. He lets out a surprised laugh instead, genuinely impressed that I have some ability after all. I scoff. Didn't expect you to take the bait this quickly. In the next instant, I sidestep, slipping past the short blade with ease, and drive my foot hard into his gut. The man staggers backwards several steps and slams into the corridor wall. I ignore his alarm and close in step by step. Death techniques built from world erosion are useless against me. With extreme blood poison, I can withstand every last one of them. Then, I speak a name, slow and deliberate. Evelask. Your heart is currently in Cerilyn's hands, isn't it? Let's make a deal. I will help you take back your heart. In exchange, you tell me everything. Cerilyn's plan and every order she has given you. The figure standing before me is no ordinary person. A world invader from beyond. A necromancer who had her heart stolen within the Imperial Palace and has been imprisoned for 1,000 years. Evelask Venabochi. I remember the first time I encountered Evelask in my past life. One day, Arthur brought her to the Azure Vanguard's camp, saying this person would prove useful in time. I rarely spoke to her at first, only knowing she was a necromancer unlike any other in the world. It was only later that I learned the truth. The Night Raven organization was nothing more than a force assembled from reanimated corpses, and Evelask was its head. In hindsight, it makes perfect sense. A necromancer is the ideal assassin. Corpses, unlike living assassins, will never reveal a single piece of information even if captured. As for the strange-looking figure standing in front of me, he is one of Evelask's necromantic puppets. Following the directions I was given, I locate the place where Evelask is imprisoned. Whether I truly have the ability to retrieve her heart is something Evelask must verify in person. In the next instant, I activate the power of Dark Feast. I aim directly at her chest, at the heart that should have been beating there all along, stolen by the Imperial family 1,000 years ago. In an instant, the familiar chains of theft materialize. Once they're shattered, I'll use Dark Feast to rip back what belongs to her, her very heart. I don't move. Instead, I speak calmly. There are only two ways to break these chains. Either meet the shackle's harsh demands, or gain your absolute consent. Only if you truly agree to entrust your heart to me will these chains finally vanish. Evelask cries out immediately. My request has her consent. The shackles of theft do not move at all. I continue. Words mean nothing. If you have even a trace of doubt, these chains stay put. The heart isn't a tool you can just manipulate. 1,000 years of obsession has built a wall that won't come down instantly, even for the sake of freedom. Evelask's expression turns to confusion, clearly not grasping what the difference is. Please, my voice slows. I begin to paint a picture of the life she has always wanted. If your heart is returned, you can stay in this room forever. No obligations. Let the puppets handle everything. Every book you could ever want to read, an endless supply of food. You can lie in bed as long as you please, and never again answer to anyone's orders. Without your heart, you remain the Empire's tool for life, carrying out endless, bloody orders you despise. If you want out, trust me with your heart. Only then can you shatter these bonds and never have to serve anyone again. Evalask's eyes waver violently before hardening with resolve. When she finally speaks, her voice is cold and absolute. Then please, take my heart. The moment the words leave her mouth, the shackles hovering before me shatter all at once. Every last restraint dissolves. I have successfully broken the chains of theft binding Evalask. And with that, I learn what Saralin's next move is. Celia, personal attendant to the 4th Princess Lyra Efanian, naturally possesses aura master-level strength. In Saralin's plan, she is to die at the hands of Diana Merlin, the Empire's sharpest spear. Her body will then be fashioned into a necromantic puppet by Evalask to serve as bait for assassinating the 4th Princess Lyra. And sure enough, later that very night, Celia falls beneath Diana Merlin's spear. It has now been exactly 1 year since the regression sent her back. The moment memory inheritance was complete, Diana rushed immediately to the rendezvous point she had agreed upon with her closest friend, Saralyn. Together they went without pause to find Arthur, who had personally appeared and told them he would wait right there for their return. But Arthur had vanished. And more baffling still, Abella had disappeared along with him. Now the only thing left for her to do is serve the 3rd Princess Saralyn, to be the sharpest spear in her hand. It is for that reason she follows Saralyn's command and cuts Celia down with her own hands. The day of the Efanian Empire Martial Tournament Finals arrives. Thanks to Evalask, I'm entering the finals with a new identity, an official representative of the Night Raven. The first finalist to take the stage is Pelin, a boy from a frontier town driven by a dream of protecting the peace of the world. But I remember clearly, this seemingly ordinary boy will one day become a vital force within the Azure Vanguard. Pelin strikes first. His toes barely graze the ground as he glides forward with an uncanny smoothness, like skimming across ice. Light on his feet, but carrying a force that should not be underestimated. I recognize that movement instantly. It's his signature footwork. 10 steps, 1,000 miles. Legend says it can bridge a 1,000-mile gap in just 10 steps, and right now, this legendary technique is unfolding perfectly on the stage. Pelin's blade lunges for my flank, but my sword moves as if it has eyes, parrying the strike with perfect precision. There is something far more decisive than training alone, and that is knowing your opponent completely. I once stood behind the scenes of the Azure Vanguard. No one knows their habits and techniques better than I do. Pelin's blade moves as though pulled by invisible threads, every slash and thrust falling precisely where I already expect it. This is a level of swordsmanship that transcends speed and strength, reading the opponent's spatial positioning to control the entire rhythm of the fight. No surprises. In the end, I claim victory in the martial tournament by a margin that leaves no room for doubt. At the best seat in the arena, Zephon Efanian, 2nd Prince of the Empire, applauds with enthusiasm. "What a magnificent performance," he says. He lets himself dream. If he can use the Night Raven's power to win the nobles over, the throne itself might not be out of reach. But just as he lingers in that pleasant fantasy, the sound of approaching footsteps shatters the silence. At the entrance stands a group of armored knights, the Black Dragon Knights of the Empire. Their presence means only one thing: a criminal is among them. Just as Zephon is about to erupt, a cold voice calls out his name. It is Diana Merlin, and she is here to place him under formal arrest on charges of murdering the 4th Princess Lyra Efanian. The accusation leaves Zephon stunned. Kill Lyra? That mischievous little fool doesn't deserve a second thought. But Diana's tone leaves no room for argument. A secret order commanding the execution of the 4th Princess was found at the Night Raven's base, and the handwriting is unmistakably Zephon's. Then a voice cuts through, laced with mockery. Its tone makes even the Black Dragon Knights and Diana pause, because the one who walks in is none other than Lyra Efanian, the very princess who should be dead, with her attendant Celia at her side. Diana cannot make sense of what she is seeing. She killed Celia with her own hands. According to the plan, Evalask was supposed to turn Celia into a necromantic puppet and sent her to take Lyra's head. Yet here they both stand, completely unharmed. The impossible keeps happening, one after another. Lyra's only response is a short, cold laugh. It hits Diana all at once. Lyra has always been praised for a mind far beyond her years. Saralyn knew this, which is why she planned ahead. If Lyra has seen through everything and already moved against them, she will become a tremendous obstacle. As Saralyn's knight, Diana must carry out her master's orders. But she missed one thing. When I learned of Saralyn's plan, I had August place the mark of the Undying on Celia. No matter what anyone does, Celia cannot be killed outright. A flash of cold cruelty crosses Diana's eyes. She can't act directly, not here. But whatever brought Celia back, Evalask must be behind it. The thought barely forms before Diana's hand tightens around the heart in her pocket. Evalask's heart. In that instant, Evalask's eyes fly open and her hands clutch her chest. Diana has just sent a command through the heart. I had already prepared everything to remove the shackle, yet I never used Dark Feast in the end. If the heart had simply vanished, Saralyn and Diana would have sensed something was wrong. So Evalask's heart remains in Diana's grip, and in the next moment, a mass of corpses surges up from beneath Evalask's feet. Just as the Black Dragon Knights brace for battle, the corpses freeze, as if time itself has stopped. Panic flickers across Diana's face. Evalask, who had been collapsed on the ground in tears just moments ago, now looks utterly at ease, the pain completely gone. Diana's hand rushes rushes back to her pocket and finds nothing. Her mind races. Lyra's assassination has failed. Evelask's heart is gone. The two failures collide in her mind and throw it into chaos. And that chaos triggers an old, dangerous habit. When things go wrong, Diana acts first and thinks later. And her first instinct locks onto her primary objective, killing Lyra. A low hum tears through the air as a torrent of aura floods out from her body. She who is called the mightiest spear raises her lance and lunges for the fourth princess of the empire. The spear drives straight for Lyra's throat. And a scrawny young boy she never once thought worthy of her attention steps forward and blocks it head on. My voice follows, calm and unhurried. That simple head of yours, Diana, it hasn't changed one bit. Diana holds still for a long moment, then slowly lowers her spear. She surrenders. The Black Dragon Knights move in at once and bind her. With Saralin's conspiracy crushed, I part ways with Lyra and the others. I take the Aurelian dragon route I've just obtained and set off on the road back to the kingdom. Traveling with me is Evelask, who has refused to serve the Empire any longer. Meanwhile, far to the north, Bianca appears to have run into trouble of her own. The news reaches me only just now. Several days ago, a stranger named Beckman slipped into House Hartson in secret. Beckman, the masked hound, the madman who slaughtered his way across the Empire and then vanished. Bianca had gone into the very mountains where the masked hound was hiding, searching for snow-blazed shrooms. After that, all word of her went silent. A few days earlier, Bianca had returned to House Hartson at my request, searching for snow-blazed shrooms. Just as she had expected, the treatment she received there was as cold as ever, but she was used to it by now. Because of her curse, she had become the family's most overlooked outcast. Then there was her sister, Jenica Hartson. To Jenica, Bianca was the child whose birth had cost their mother her life. Yet because of the curse, Bianca felt none of the grief that should have weighed on her. No matter how much hatred and rage Jenica poured out, Bianca only stared back with that unsettling, expressionless face. That blank stare had only deepened Jenica's resentment over the years. Now that Bianca was back, Jenica had no intention of letting her off easy. Bianca searched everywhere for the snowblaze shrooms I had asked for, but came up empty. Partly because so few people could even harvest them, and partly because Jenica had already ordered every merchant caravan not to sell them to her. Left with no other choice, Bianca set out alone into the mountains. When Jenica found out, she looked genuinely baffled. She never understood why Bianca would push herself like this. Growing up, Bianca had never shown the slightest interest in anything beyond her books. As much as she despised Bianca, if something happened to her in those mountains, the fallout would be enormous. After all, Bianca was the personally chosen fiancé of House Wilhelm. With that in mind, Jenica hurried after Bianca, catching up to her stumbling through the snow, and promised to get her the snow-blazed shrooms herself. Bianca turned and followed. If Jenica could get her what she needed, there was no reason to keep taking the risk. But then a voice cut through the quiet between them. It was Beckman, the masked hound, with blood on his hands and madness in his eyes. With no other option, the two of them ran, pushing through the snow toward the crevice terrain ahead, but they skidded to a halt. Jenica looked ahead and went speechless. Before them stretched a sheer cliff edge, a drop with no visible bottom. Behind them, Beckman's voice drifted toward them, unhurried. Running in the snow wasn't really his thing, but he didn't mind. Finding girls this pretty made it all worthwhile. In the next instant, Bianca grabbed Jenica's hand, and without a moment's hesitation, leapt into the abyss. Beckman cursed and threw himself over the edge after them. The moment he left the cliff, his eyes went wide. The two girls who had jumped before him were not falling. Bianca and Jenica stood on a narrow ledge of rock jutting out from the cliff face. Beckman let out a roar of shock and swung his axe forward in a wide arc, but Bianca stepped forward and took Beckman with her, plunging together over the edge. By the time I arrive at House Hartson, a full week has passed since Bianca disappeared. On the other side of that cliff, Bianca had gotten lucky, landing in a deep bank of snow that cushioned her fall. Even luckier, she soon spotted a massive ancient tree, a century-old giant. Growing from its branches were snow-blazed shrooms, that rare and precious herb, snow-white all over, fed by years of sunlight. Even from a distance, the warmth they radiated was unmistakable. Eventually, Beckman tracked down Bianca, alone at last. Such a beautiful girl, he drawled. And quite the runner. It's starting to bore me. He reached out, grabbed her, and hauled her off the ground by force. The sharp pain of her hair being wrenched upward sent a shudder through her whole body. And then, as if in a vision, she saw me, the so-called failure of House Wilhelm, the young master who had never once minded her curse, who had even looked at her with something like guilt. Without realizing it, she had come to treasure me more than anyone. With what little strength she had left, Bianca let out a sound barely above a whisper, a wish to see me one last time before the end. And in that very moment, a figure strikes. A hard blow drives into Beckman's side. Sorry, Bianca, I'm late. With Bianca safe, I turn and face Beckman, steady and unhurried. Whoever you are, the last one standing will be Kyle Wilhelm. The next instant, Beckman's massive axe comes crashing down at me. In a flash, my sword snaps into position and catches the blow dead on. My heart drops. My instincts barely kept up with his speed, and that was just measuring his aura reserves. This man has reached the peak of aura expert. He must have broken past his limits after joining the World Erosion, and I only recently advanced to mid-level aura expert. Beckman presses on, launching strike after strike, but each one is met and sealed by my sword. Then comes another crushing impact, and my sword is nearly knocked from my grip. I realize it in an instant. The blunt blade technique can't fully neutralize his strength, which means I can't extend my range of control the way I need to. My focus sharpens to its absolute limit. Then, let's see how he handles pure flame. At that very moment, the world around me shifts. The snow-white mountain range bleeds into deep crimson without warning. I recognize it immediately. Spectral Bind, Beckman's signature technique, a terrifying art that floods aura outward to strip the enemy of their senses. Once caught in Spectral Bind, every sensation is peeled away from the body, piece by piece, until consciousness itself collapses. Like falling into an endless hell. Watching me slowly lose my senses, Beckman finally lets himself himself smile. He wants to see just how long I can hold on, but somewhere in the back of his mind he has to admit, when I came at him just now, he had been in real danger. Just a boy, outmatched in both strength and aura at every level. He had assumed he could toy with someone this seemingly weak, and yet, in the end, he was forced to bring out a technique capable of destroying everything. Pushing the thought aside, he raises his weapon and charges again, with the illusion blocking out the pain that would slow him down. Beckman moves with more ferocity than ever. Certain of victory, his axe descends from every direction in a relentless storm of blows. My sword holds on, barely, but every clash drives me further back. From a distance, Evelask bites her lip. I was the one who got her heart back. Even if it was nothing more than a deal, she still has lines she won't cross. She doesn't want to watch me die. But the moment she steps in, she'll draw the attention of the one behind Beckman, the Mad Hound. The Mad Hound is one of the World Erosion's most fearsome agents. Once he locks onto a target, he will not stop until his prey is dead. August tells her not to interfere. Trust the boy who brought your heart back. He's the lone wanderer, acknowledged by the master of the Crimson Court. I'm gasping for breath, veins standing out across my face from pushing my sixth sense far past its limit. This is the first time I've ever driven it this hard, because I am not talented. I don't have the raw power to crush an opponent the way a true genius would, so I wait. I wait until the enemy has completely let his guard down, until the moment he is certain he has already won, and only then do I show everything I have. And now, my sixth sense finally hits its absolute limit. With a sharp hiss, fire erupts inside me. The power of world erosion ignites within my body, all at once. It feels as if the entire world has gone still. The searing heat pouring through me shatters spectral bind in an instant. This is the ultimate move I have been holding in reserve, a technique I forged myself, born from the fusion of Ignis and extreme blood poison. I surge forward, charging straight into the path of Beckman's axe. The sword closes in on his throat and Beckman still doesn't notice, because at this moment my speed has reached its absolute peak. Only now does Beckman register the blade coming for him, but he is a seasoned hunter, and in the next instant a shockwave bursts from his throat, throwing off my aim. The sword veers, and drives deep into his right shoulder instead. At the same time, the flames around me begin to fade. My ultimate technique can only hold for 3 seconds. In an instant, the tide turns. Beckman grits through the pain in his shoulder and swings his axe at me. I release my sword and pour every last remnant of the fading flame into my right palm. Then I raise my right arm and meet the axe head on. As expected, my right hand is severed on the spot, but in that moment, the arm that took the blow buys me a few precious seconds. Cornered and bleeding, azure flames blaze to life in my eyes. My spirit, in this very moment, crosses into the sublime state of one with the blade. The magnitude of that spiritual force leaves even August watching from the side breathless. The sword still lodged in Beckman's shoulder becomes one with my will. Witnessing this, Beckman's face falls into despair. Even the masked hound feels powerless before this pressure, and then the sword tears through him, splitting the masked hound in two from the shoulder down, and I collapse, completely spent, into unconsciousness. A moment later, I stare up at an unfamiliar ceiling in a daze. I can't even remember the last time I felt pain this deep. Then I notice it, a curtain of snow-white hair draped over the edge of the bed. I watch Bianca quietly, then break the silence first. Why did you go into the mountains alone? The Lokar range is treacherous enough, let alone the Hartson Highlands in year-round snow. Bianca answers slowly. Because she needed the snowblaze shrooms. I let out a helpless sigh. Should I scold her? Or tell her she did well? Bianca continues, her voice slow and even. She looks at the empty space where my right arm was. She says she feels responsible, but it is only responsibility. Purely that, and nothing more. She cannot make an expression because of it, cannot cry. Her face will not flush with shame or sorrow. Even though I lost my arm saving her, she cannot feel a thing. This is the first time Bianca has ever felt the torment of that so acutely. She shakes her head, pained. She worries her curse will spread to the people around her. She doesn't want me to lose my emotions. She doesn't want to watch me become like her. A contradiction, she knows, and yet it is the only way she knows how to say it. While she wrestles with herself, my voice reaches her, calm and steady. Don't worry, Bianca. A curse can't affect someone who isn't its target. Even if I take yours on, my feelings won't disappear. The young master of House Wilhelm is something of a specialist when it comes to curses. At those words, Bianca slowly lifts her head, then let this hollow, expressionless face finally disappear, if only for this one moment. She wants to smile and thank me for pulling her back from the edge again and again. She wants to rage at herself for being so stubborn and foolish, for costing me my arm. The feeling surging inside her now is so fierce that even this wicked curse cannot hold it back. She asks me, please, help her find her emotions again. A soft chime rings out as the system notification appears. The second shackle of the curse has been successfully broken. Kyle Wilhelm has become the person Bianca treasures most. The next day, Bianca is summoned to attend a family council meeting of House Hartson. I take the moment alone to look down at my right arm. Empty, numb, nothing there at all. August brings up the promise I once made, to become the strongest and take the power of immortality from his hands. But now that I've lost my arm, that promise seems impossible to keep. My tone stays calm, as if the missing arm is barely worth mentioning. August, don't be upset. I know how to restore it. The obvious answer would be a trip to the Holy Kingdom of Freeman, one of the 4 great kingdoms, where a legendary saintess is said to dwell, one who can even bring the dead back to life. But I'm in no position to call on her power. My standing in House Wilhelm may have improved somewhat, but I'm still a washout in their eyes. House Wilhelm doesn't throw money at dead weight. An ordinary priest's blessing would be the best I could hope for. So I tell August my real plan, straightforwardly. Since I've already lost the arm, I may as well replace it with something better. And right now, there is someone who can do exactly that. As the world's only necromancer, Evelask has mastered every art of corpse manipulation. Attaching an arm is nothing to her. I don't know what price she'll name this time, but what matters now is getting the arm back first. And my target is the one known as the Sword Wraith. The moment August hears that name, his body goes rigid. The Sword Wraith, a warrior whose name once made the entire world tremble. His quick draw technique was pushed to its ultimate limit. No one in the world could track the arc of his blade. And more than that, the Sword Wraith was once August's most treasured servant. I know how deeply August is attached to those who serve him. They are his only window into the living world. So he pours his feelings into them without realizing it, and never stops, even knowing it will only bring him pain. In my past life, Arthur once told me how to find August's true body, capture one of his servants and interrogate them. The moment August realizes it, he will give up his own location to protect them. August's voice carries a barely perceptible tremor. He says the Sword Wraith died long ago, but his sword art didn't die with him. You know that better than anyone. If I can get the Sword Wraith's arm, I will absolutely bring that art back into this world. August falls silent. Then he folds his wings and fixes me with a glare. Does this insufferable child really think you can talk your way into anything? A pause. Fine. 2 days. And yet, August agrees. Meanwhile, in the House Hartson council chamber, the acting head of the family, Mario, puts forward a proposal. The arranged marriage with House Wilhelm should be transferred from Bianca to Jenica. Bianca's brow furrows, the first clear sign of displeasure ever seen on her face. Her voice is firm. She does not agree. Mario's expression hardens at once. This is a matter of critical importance to the family, he says. Stop acting like a spoiled child, Bianca. But Bianca refuses to yield an inch. She is a child, she always has been, and she still is now, so she will say plainly what she wants. Her gaze locks onto Mario. The only title she wants to keep is this, the fiancé of Kyle Wilhelm. Her stubbornness enrages Mario completely. The young master of House Wilhelm has revealed a bloodline power of terrifying potential, he says. He will rise to a position of great importance in the kingdom of Stalin, and a cursed child like her will one day be cast aside without a second thought. Even Jenica is taken aback by how cruel those words are. Yet in the face of Mario's fury, Bianca doesn't even blink. This house, she says, belongs to her father, her brother, and her sister. It has never belonged to her. So even if she is cast out, she will not give up her place as Kyle's fiancé. Mario trembles with rage, drawing breath to cut her off, when my voice cuts through the room flat and cold. My apologies, Mario. I have no intention of changing my engagement partner. And what happened here, me killing the masked hound on House Hartson's grounds, can be told in two very different ways. The first, Kyle Wilhelm stood up to protect his fiancé, and though he lost his arm, he kept her safe. That is the finest story House Hartson could hope for. It proves how seriously I take this engagement, and it makes the alliance between our houses all the more unshakable. The second, House Hartson's defenses were so lacking that a wanted killer walked right in and nearly got one of House Wilhelm's own killed. That is the worst possible outcome. The world would question House Hartson's ability to protect its own, and in the worst case, the engagement would collapse entirely. As acting head of this family, I trust you can make the right call. Mario abandons his anger entirely and asks bluntly what my terms are. I turn slowly toward Bianca. Simple. Follow Bianca's wishes. Whether this engagement continues or ends, that decision is hers alone. Watching Bianca stand steadfast behind me, Mario is genuinely puzzled. Can he really intend to stay by a cursed girl's side? You know nothing about your own family, and as for the curse, I never cared about it to begin with. I pause mid-step. One more thing. Tell the outside world that a priest brought in by House Hartson healed my arm. If you're not convinced, you're welcome to wait and see it restored with your own eyes before you report anything to House Wilhelm. As he watches us leave, Mario turns to Jenica beside him and asks if she feels the same thing he does. For the first time, they can actually sense a change in Bianca's emotions.